Welcome back to another episode of the Chad Smith Podcast. My name is Chad Smith. Today is Thursday, December 30th, 2021, and I'm joined as always from Fresno, California. Please welcome Sonny Conway. How's it going, man?
How's it going, everybody? Good morning, Chad.
It's going good, man. This is the last show of the year.
I know it's going to be a good one, dude.
I just figured that out. Yeah, this is going to be a good one to end the year with right here. Just want to remind everybody, too, I don't know if I've announced this yet on here, but this is the last show of this time slot, so we're going to be moving 2 hours forward after this podcast. So Tuesday and Thursday of next week, we'll be starting at 10 a.m. Eastern, which is 7 a.m. Pacific over on the West Coast over there. So Sonny's going to be able to get a little bit more sleep from now on, so that's cool.
That's right, we get to sleep in.
I'd like to shout out Cassie from Oracles and Beyond for booking today's guest and for always sharing our content and our channels out. We really appreciate you, Cassie. Hopefully you're here this morning.
Yes, good morning.
Please subscribe to the channel if you guys like this stuff. We really appreciate all your support. We're actually growing pretty quick, so appreciate that. We also have merch now. Let me go ahead and put that here. If you guys go to chadsmithpodcast.com, we got some merch over there. I'm just going to do this real quick so you guys can see what we're looking at. Got some black and white stuff, but the logo is black and white, but you can change the colors on all these shirts and stuff too. So if you guys like anything over there, hit that up, and we appreciate your support over there too. Let's see, last show of the year, got that done. Next week starts at 10. All right, I think we're good. I'm going to bring in the guest. So, guys, let's see here. Connor Flynn. We got Connor Flynn in the house today. Bigfoot Anon on YouTube. Guys, Connor Flynn is originally from Ohio and now lives in the Florida swamps. He is the author of 4 books. He's a podcast host and actor in the Void Cat and the Zillifoot film. Connor will be speaking at the Great Florida Bigfoot Conference, and he's also a part of Bigfoot Odyssey 168. So for the first time on the podcast, guys, please welcome Connor Flynn.
Yo, what's up,
How's it going, dude?
What's up, man?
Good morning.
Going,
bright and early here in the Central.
Bright and early.
7 o'clock. I'm up in bed.
That's awesome, dude. Did you have a late night last night?
Oh, yeah. I was on Gypsy Road. We were talking about the Voynich manuscript. So things got super strange. And then I was just watching Sonny and Bree talking about aliens and crazy other wild stuff that neither of their spouses would have wanted them to be talking about.
Yep, I was catching some of that, too. It was a fun night last night.
Oh,
It was.
yeah, those girls are funny.
Melissa says, hi, Connor. Good morning.
Hey to all the chat, and yes, especially to Mel and Cass. Thank you for all you do for facilitating everybody behind the scenes and even live during the show. It's very important what everybody's doing in the community as well. And Chad, I just wanted to say what you did the other day, meeting up with Big Willie, was so inspirational, man. I am so huge on IRL, in real life. And when you take it from virtual to real life, you felt it the other day. You probably still got goosebumps, you know?
It was really cool, man.
It's real, man. And some of these people in chat I've camped with, I've hiked with, I've went on expeditions with. So that's when you take it to the next level. And I'm super excited for today and the future for all of us included. Just stay on that positive path, guys, because look outside. It's raining down fireballs, but we got to continue on because we carry that light inside of us.
That's right. I feel like when we sit down here, we just shut the whole rest of the negativity out, and we're just in our own little world right here. It's awesome.
1,000,000%.
Yeah, that was really cool meeting him. They say when you meet your heroes that it doesn't add up to what your expectations or whatever, but can't say that's true with Big Willie, dude. He came over here with the biggest smile and so much positivity, and we only had like 5 minutes to hang out, so next time is going to have to be a lot longer of a hangout. But yeah, that's really cool.
Heck yeah.
Awesome, man. So what do you want to talk about today? You want to talk about some Bigfoot or some aliens or everything in between?
Yeah, how about some extraterrestrial Bigfoot coming out of portals that have hair that can vibrate to turn them into blurs? And Gemma Jade has seen the Glitter Man. We've seen the movie Predator, and then other people have seen these things vanish right in front of their eyes. But no, of course, I'd just like to talk about all the things strange that are beyond our mind. And right when we close our eyes, guys, there's an existence. You know, we have to channel that. There's something that is empowering us that has always existed. You know, coincidence is the only thing that never exists. Energy never created nor destroyed. It's just always existed. So it's crazy that all of us have shared this energy since the beginning of time. And we've just came so far on this journey. And now we're here on this early Thursday morning.
That's right. Like I say a lot of the time, a lot of stuff has to go right in the past for us to be sitting here having this conversation. And like the harder you think on that, the crazier it'll, like the more it'll blow your mind, because there's so much stuff that's had to happen before you got here, just so that we could be talking right now. So yeah, it's like we're sharing the force of the universe.
Yes,
that's been around forever.
It's like the red yarn theory, they say. Some people are into string theory. I'm big into the red yarn theory. Anybody that ever connects, you know, right here, and everybody in chat hearing this in the future. This world is so big that even if we're connected this much, it's meant to be. But we have red yarn tied around our ankles, and it's just some diverse, probably geometric pattern that spells out something to the next life. But it's a beautiful thing. I saw this one movie or TV show called Touch with Kiefer Sutherland. Got canceled after, you know, just a couple episodes, probably for the reason that it was uncovering the truths of the true diagram. But yeah, man, it all connects with me. And sometimes that connection draws some flack, but other people definitely appreciate it because they're onto the same terms of research. And they got some high energy guy, you know, leading the Spearway, talking about all the things that can connect. And when you draw this web of spiders, man, you know, the future can kind of present itself. It's like read between the lines. You can see what's about to happen.
Yeah, I dig that. I like that red yarn theory. That's cool, man. Instead of the string theory.
Yeah, it's very interesting. There's a lot to it. Definitely research it this afternoon.
For sure. So you're totally down with the fact that everything is connected, like aliens, UFOs, Bigfoot, everything okay. So the phenomenon
and not every single situation is connected, of course, but you know, if there is high-powered things in the sky, they are going to be doing research on everything on the surface that is creating a buzz. And of course, they've been inspecting humans, and they would definitely be inspecting the ancient ones in the forest. But then you talk about orbs and fairies, and yes, those coincide with the ancient one in the forest too. But is it a symbiotic relationship? Probably sometimes. Well, it's probably sometimes they're at ends too. So yes, you just have to draw connections. But you know, like we mentioned right earlier with the Bigfoot Odyssey 168, Carrie Arnold's running that. That is a documentary and an expedition to connect the layman on the simplest terms that Bigfoot is real. So we could start with the Yeti, the Yeren, the Yowie, the Abominable Snowman, stories from all different continents, or the cave art, or the statues in India, or the thousands of historical encounters, plus the hundreds or thousands of credible encounters from, you know, professionals these days. So that's where I would have to meet them. And they told me check the fairies and the ley lines and the Bermuda Triangle and Ponce de Leon finding the Fountain of Youth and Middle Earth entrances by the gateway keepers of the Shadow Man. They told me to check that, you know, at the edge of the swamp. But of course, I'm going to sneak it in at the later film. You know, every
for sure
needs a twist. You know, I'll be in a bank or something, dropping knowledge. But one big thing I want everybody to remember and to research after this is the Ocheesee Pond Wild Man. I always want to be an advocate for that creature. He was captured in the late 1800s in the Panhandle, Florida, sent to the capital of Florida, Tallahassee. The governor said, oh, no way. Sent him to the Chattahoochee Hospital. And there's a movie about the Chattahoochee Hospital with Gary Oldman. He's a military veteran with PTSD, and they do a bunch of crazy tests on him, experiments. So imagine what they did to the hairy man. They say that 3 years later he passed away and they buried him with a bunch of Native Americans and then built a building on top of him. Other people say they built some kind of crypt or like some kind of hidden chest chamber and buried him over by the abandoned golf course. So one of my friends actually lives on the campus because he's their technician. So I go out and I'm filming all around the haunted campus looking for the grave of the Ocheesee Pond Wildman. But there hasn't been too much awareness. Back in the day, it was on the front page of the New York Times. But why hasn't Finding Bigfoot or Expedition Bigfoot even talked about it? Just small documentaries on YouTube, and then long-haired goofballs like me going into the swamp and talking to the descendants of the people that captured this beast. And it's just a lot of craziness. And, I just want to pop the bottle off of that story because not a lot of people are talking about it. So the Ocheesee Pond Wildman. So when people say, oh, we have never captured one, we don't have a file, we don't have their hair, that is all wrong because it's all been captured. So we don't have to rerun history every time because we, close our eyes to it. I'm big on rereading everything. And there's hundreds of stories of police officers taking reports of killed creatures. So it's like, it's all been done before, just like the Bare Naked Lady show.
Yeah, and so the difference is you can't just sit in front of a computer screen and just hope that the evidence is going to pop out at you. You have to do what you're doing and actually go out there, talk to the people, get the information from the ones that were there, the ones that, their family members were there, and do the footwork, get out, boots on the ground, and get the information yourself,
1,000,000%. But all the people that can't, who can't get out there for some situation, there is enough online. You just have to really dive into it. That's why when skeptics are standing on like, there's no DNA. No, there has been many samples, hundreds, maybe thousands of samples, but they always come back from the lab human contaminated. How about we skip past that and we can talk about those actual samples? Why does my sample from Mayaca with Squatch in South Florida match with the one that we found in the Green Swamp? And how does that match with the one that was seen in Tennessee? And then that matches with one that was found in Minnesota. So they all have similar characteristics. And yes, they haven't been established by academia because, again, that is a cycle, a revolving door of nefarious tactics. They're not trying to move the community forward or give us any truth. There is just their agenda and their speed. So we can't worry about them really ever. That's why I'm trying to just raise awareness in the community. So there's less missing 401 cases, more pictures of Sasquatch, more reports, because if you know what you're looking for, you could share that information. And all Sasquatch reports aren't all ferocious attacks. Sometimes it's a knock. Sometimes it's a bellow far in the woods. Sometimes it's a strange feeling. Sometimes it's a dream. So Sasquatch encounters, experiences, and even reports can come in from many different realms. You just have to open your eyes and be open to it. And that's just Sasquatch, Talk about haunted houses, connecting your dreams, and then really tapping into meditation and seances. You are a walking spell. We write our words in cursive. Like, we are walking magicians, and we have to tap into that. Most of us are living very simple mental lives, and we have to break outside of that. And just us being awake and discussing this kind of stuff this morning is showing that we're on the right path, but the masses are leading astray. So hopefully our little loud energy in the front can bring a few more people, and a few more people. You can't get everybody, but you just get a couple people, and then they'll spread the word too. And it's not about getting anybody or anything like that. It's about spreading the love, spreading the knowledge, and just being there for people. Because right now, no one is there for anybody, and I'm just trying to slow everybody down and get everybody away from the static. And if we are so hateful against one another, if we figure out that there's little elves and fairies and giant trolls and mountains used to be alive and bleed gold, and now we look for that gold, we wouldn't really draw lines of division too strong between us. And that's what I'm just trying to remind us of. Like, we are magic, and our ancestors are in the forest and in the skies, and every movie we've ever watched is based on something. So we got to just tap into that.
Yeah, I heard you bring up missing 411 cases a little bit ago. And so do you see a connection between those missing 411 cases and Sasquatch?
Definitely. There's a handful of cases that lead directly to Sasquatch, but then there's others that, a kid was inside a car, there was no markings on the car, the kid's gone. I don't think that was probably Sasquatch, maybe some kind of electrical anomaly or maybe just straight abduction from extraterrestrials. But then there's cases like Jared Adidero. He was walking. He asked 2 hikers and fishermen if they've ever seen any bear. Next thing you know, he's gone, never seen again. And then they found his cranium and his clothes unripped and his shoes unscuffed. So there was a strange anomaly. And then you go to Dennis Martin over in Tennessee mountains, the Smoky Mountain Mountains, and then they had a feral man carrying little Dennis in his red hoodie over his shoulder. And then the Green Berets came in and wiped out a bunch of the feral people. And that's where it gets into like, a Sasquatch a feral person or some other type of human hybrid? But are these feral people teaming up with the Sasquatch or being recruited or maybe being enslaved by these tribes in the mountains? It gets really strange. But yes, there are definitely some missing 401 cases. Cullen Finnerty, he played in the NFL, played for the Denver Broncos and the Baltimore Ravens. He was a quarterback for Toledo, my school's rival. I went to Bowling Green. And Toledo was our number 1 rival. He was a quarterback there, star player. He ended up going to the NFL, fizzling out a little bit, playing arena, had a lot of head injuries and kind of retired. And they, of course, blamed his death after being stalked by 2 dark beings. And then he threw up and he had pneumonia, and that's how he died. And some cows, when they're scared to death, they have some type of pneumonia. So I think he was being chased or maybe even squeezed by some kind of Sasquatch. And then Henry McCabe's story too. He was found 10 miles from where he was last seen. He was really drunk. There was no chance he was going to get there. You could hear some kind of really weird samurai chatter, strange noises on a voicemail when he was trying to call his wife. It's very strange. But yes, there have been tons of Sasquatch kidnaps going back to the Indian days, the ancient days of Port Chatham in Alaska. But I don't think every case in Missing 401 is Sasquatch, but I definitely think some are. And at least I am not hands tied, because David Paulides, he'll get thrown off a cliff for, thinking it's Sasquatch, where he's written a book, The Hoopa Project, where he went to the Hoopa tribe out by Bluff Creek, and they're one of the last Native American tribes to live with the Sasquatch until one of the chief's daughters was assaulted, and then they were casted to the mountains. But again, this is all just like easily accessible knowledge. So I just want everybody to dive into it and go on those deep dives after midnight, because great things happen, man.
Absolutely. That's cool, man. Yeah, there's I like what Brassel said here. How does he remember all these accounts? Yeah, he's got a lot of knowledge, man, built up in there.
Brassel, how I remember is dabbing. Like, that's how I remember. Well, I don't remember a lot of BS that society throws at me. Like, I totally just like have my guard up to that. I don't absorb any of that. I've forgotten a lot of what I've been jammed with. So yes, but I think I just remember one, and then that reminds me to the next one. And it's just like a road wave, They all get mad at me because I'm long-winded, but it's one thought. It's all connected.
I don't know how anyone could get mad at you for that. You're just filling us with some knowledge, man.
Well, I appreciate you appreciating it.
Absolutely. So we haven't had a whole lot of UFO stuff on this channel. So if you have any stories or anything regarding UFOs, aliens, and Bigfoot, and see how they, if they're connected or how they're connected.
Yes, definitely. Well, first of all, I'm a Bigfoot researcher from Ohio. It all started at Lake Erie. And if you look back at Lake Erie UFO encounters, there are so many that happened in the 90s. And, of course, I was a young little jit, so I don't remember all of them. But just being surrounded by that phenomenon, seeing it in stores, on the news, even at Indians games, they would make jokes about it. So I was always surrounded by that strangeness. Right around the corner from my house was the Witch's Ball, Crybaby Bridge, and Irma's house, 3 of the most haunted places in Northeast Ohio. And they all kind of revolve around witches, and their stories are very similar and very interesting. Of course, the Witch's Ball, her name was Skotskov, some kind of Russian witch, and she was being harassed around town for having sex before she was married. And of course, there was some deep story to it, like she was manipulated and it wasn't her fault. And she ended up killing a couple people after they kept harassing her. And then they are buried in the same graveyard as her, but she has a huge granite stone on top of her grave to keep her locked down. And it's hot when it's cold, and it's cold when it's hot. So pretty much every weekend, we would go out and investigate that. And then right near that was the Crybaby Bridge, where she tossed another lady tossed a baby off the high bridge. And it's a railroad bridge, like 60 feet high. You have to park at a haunted church, walk through a graveyard, through the woods to get onto it. And then, of course, if you park underneath it, your car won't start. Irma's house right around the corner again. It's a triangle. It's like a scary Bermuda Triangle in the middle of Northeast Ohio. Irma's house, sadly, she killed her family. She pushed them down the coal chute, and then she unalived herself from her ceiling up in the attic. So you have to break in the house and go through the cellar doors, and then go all the way through the basement, go up the house, and inside the living room, there's a bunch of postcards called Irma. Or her house is called Irma, but they're all addressed to Alma, Alama. And I think that is her true name, but people just take that Irma terminology and ran with it. But we'd go up there and do seances and really get things going. And that was like my childhood. That's what we did for free. And of course, we would go get high there and drink and take girls there and show off. A lot of fun stuff, But we were always surrounded by the strange stuff in the sky because our parents were pretty much obsessed with it too, because we grew up right on Lake Erie. The Lake Erie Monster, the Ohio Grassman of Cuyahoga Valley National Park, and then, of course, the haunted Franklin Castle. And even just my aunts and my stepmom were blowing me up with like Christmas posts with that place. That is like the cornerstone of Cleveland. It's a haunted castle that goes back to the 1800s. Zach Baggins has been there. It's pretty much the October pride and joy of Northern Ohio. And it really has shaped just all of us. And I know none of that was directly UFO, but I was just trying to paint the picture of how it was a paranormal childhood for pretty much me and all my friends. So us seeing strange stuff in the skies was not even that out of question once we started, dabbling with psychedelics and also doing, meditations deep in the woods and doing CE5s where you can summon strange lights in the sky with meditation. But one of my most famous, happiest, craziest moments when I was deep in a psychedelic trip with my buddy Jake Gaylord, and we saw this orange light in the sky, and it was like my first grade A UFO encounter. And after about 5 minutes, we see it pretty much like vibrating, and we're like, "Yo, you see that?" Like, we didn't say anything for a while, and he's like, "Yeah." And after we noticed it, it turned into a long line. Like a line in the sky, and it started feeling like it was manipulating our mind. And I don't know if it was positive, negative, or maybe it was just letting us know that we knew, but it was some strange phenomenon, and it always showed me that there is something in the sky, and it is always connecting to us and kind of trying to communicate with us. So and pretty much after that night, I've always spent at least 15 minutes under the moonlight and soaking it in. Even on nights that I can't see any stars or the sky, I know that feeling is still there. And I am a huge believer in heaven being a physical place 73 miles up, because that's what every other civilization other than the Nazi NASA brigade has, perpetuated. But pretty much I have just absorbed that upper energy. So when people go, "Oh man, what are you on, Connor? Are you doing speed or coffee?" Like, no, bro, it's 7:25. I got a couple hours of sleep. I'm just energized because I know the answers are out there, and there is something in the sky bigger than you and I, bigger than any one of my problems, bigger than any one of my petty insecurities or vulnerabilities. Something in the sky cared enough to reach out to me. And that was pretty groundbreaking. And I honestly don't bring that up enough, because it was minimal compared to other things, but it was in the sky, and that is bigger than anything we could ever imagine. But I've definitely investigated a ton of UFO encounters. I've talked to people that have been abducted. I've been to places that abductees have been taken off the ground. Two stories that I want to share real quick. One comes from Standing Goats Rescue. He's my good friend, Donnie Miller. I'm actually supposed to see him later today, and we might be filming, and we'll probably be talking about this exact thing I'm about to talk about. He was driving with his family in Alabama when a spaceship went over his car and abducted all three of them, and he doesn't have any memory what happened after that. But a couple years later, he broke his wrist, and the doctor said, "Hey, Don, you have a weird metal bar in your arm." And his parents had no clue what it was from. And of course, then the memory started flooding back. And he started remembering that it was kind of imprint or some kind of weird beacon that the aliens or extraterrestrials put into him. And then ever since, he's had about 15 grade A encounters with frogmen, Sasquatch, Thunderbird, Dogman, and tons of strange stuff. He runs a goat farm, Standing Goats Rescue. It's on YouTube. And a lot of these stories, he has videotaped because he's always got a camera running. And his two most famous stories were on Sasquatch Chronicles, Wes's show, and then also Bigfoot Odyssey, Carrie Arnold's show. Right here in town, Mariana, right when I moved here, I was like, oh, going online, Mariana Bigfoot, of course. And then I find Donnie Miller's story, the caveman of Mariana. And there's this giant 12-foot creature after he was doing some hog hunting, standing right next to him, pacing. And luckily his wife beeped the horn and screamed and basically saved his life. Another time he had one yelling, screaming at him, charging at him, vibrating the woods. And then when he was 18 years old, he had a one-eyed, like, weird cyclops reptilian monster lunge at him when he was in Panama City. And that story I heard when I was doing research too. So once I became friends with him, and then it all kind of came back and he told me this, I'm like, dude, I've done research on these reports. And then I end up finding he was abducted by aliens, and then he has a beacon in his arm, and maybe these beings sense that, and that's why they're revealing themselves. And every time I go hiking with him, I'm thinking of that. I'm like, well, my chances are a lot higher for anything to happen this time. And we've had crazy hikes that people have seen stuff in the back of our video camera. But that's my buddy Donnie Miller. He's my brother. He's a good person. I'm sure a lot of people actually know him in the chat. He has a great channel that he's always diving into historical stuff, but he is very knowledgeable and truthful. So I would love to see an x-ray of that, but also don't want him to have to go under the knife like they were trying to request so they could do some research. No way, no how. He can mentally get back to that with hypnosis if he really needed to. And then let me talk about the Pascagoula River alien abduction. In the 70s, 2 fishermen were taken by a giant spaceship in Pascagoula, Mississippi, right by the Gulf, right over by Biloxi, Mississippi, not far from New Orleans, not far from Mobile, Alabama, right in that Gulf Coast area. In the 70s, 2 men were abducted by a spaceship and then probed and looked at by this giant female gray alien that had a bunch of little male minions. There's a bunch of documentaries and TV shows about it. Highly recommend it. Where I think it's super credible is more than 200 people on the ground witnessed the spaceship that night. So definitely something happened. And they had advanced knowledge about the town, and then the townspeople started to have strange dreams and phenomenon, and some people felt ill, some people lived, probably lives 3 times that what they would have. So it's strange once the magic appears that how we absorb it. You can either run with it or it will break you down. There's a lot of people that have had paranormal encounters that it shows you that there's something more out there. Then there's other people that are just like, no, everything's a lie. I can't be anymore. It's sad. But the Pascagoula River alien incident, I wanted to research it. So I went to a gator farm and went on an airboat out there. We went hiking on a bunch of different swamp trails, and I went with my buddy Adam Chalmers. And if anybody has read my book, Big Brother Bigfoot, you guys know where I'm going with this. This is definitely an embarrassing story, but I have gotten so wild and over it that, who cares that I've sharded before. But
Who hasn't, right? Who hasn't?
Yeah. I was hiking in the Shepherd State Park along the Pascagoula River, of course, the Mississippi Marsh, and this one huge trail. It was about 12 feet. It's a walkway, a boardwalk over the swamp, and it was incomplete. And it was a day after we were in New Orleans, drinking, partying, having long nights. So, of course, my fluids were a little weird, but I felt fine. And I was hiking, and we were jumping across these beams, trying not to fall down into the swamp, so we were gator bait. And I'm making it across, and one of the last ones, I jump, and when I land, well, let me go back real quick. About 5 minutes before that, Adam is a real hard guy. He played college football, real, he has all the answers. So, long-haired, crazy me out there is just trying to rile things up. I was doing Sasquatch calls and trying to mimic them. And a lot of people recommend not to do that because we don't speak Sasquatch language. Now I've gotten back around to, if you do it with respect and positivity, it should, yield good results. But that time I was totally trying to just stir it up and be funny. I was like looking up, smiling, I wasn't serious about it. And I feel like whatever creature or just balance in the universe was just teaching me a lesson. But after I jumped, I landed, I went, and I had an accident in my pants, and I was like, oh my God. And we were still up on this boardwalk, and I was with Adam, and I didn't want him to know. He probably still doesn't know because he barely listens to these podcasts, and I know he hasn't got to that chapter in my book. And his parents still don't know either. So it's a good thing that it wasn't a total all falls down thing. But I knew I had a problem in my pants, so I'm like waddling along, and then I kind of direct us, like, let's get off. Let's get to the woods, to the trail. And then right away, I'm thinking David Paulides. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're trying to divide us because I can't do this.
They're going to take me with my sharded pants.
Yo, so we get off the boardwalk, and we're by the woods. I'm like, yo, Adam, I got to go to the bathroom. So I go around the corner. He barely even moves because he probably thinks I'm just going pee. So I keep scurrying around, and I just do a quick check, and I'm like, oh yeah, I have to change my underwear. I have to disperse of them.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'm like quiet down, and I set something, and I hear something ruffling in the not feathers, in the leaves, 20 yards away. Not too close, but not too far. It was just interesting. But then I feel that it's kind of coming closer to me, and I have to get my pants off. So I pretty much go as fast as I can. Oh my gosh, I keep looking down. I feel like I had these shorts on. I take my shorts off. I take my boxers off. I take my socks off. I wipe my butt with my sock real quick. And then I throw the boxers down, pull the shorts up. And while all this is happening, whatever this creature is or this being starts to bluff charge me. And I'm twitching at the same time. And I pull it all up in one motion and pull back. And I don't know, man. I feel like I was being bluff charged or manipulated by some kind of creature. Or I was really in my head, and it could have been just a raccoon or a deer trying to get away from me, a predator, or it was something interested in the horrible smell I just created. But I buried it under a bunch of leaves real quick while I was going out, and I dipped. And it was just really funny and a weird situation. I had a really bad rash. I definitely explain it a little bit better in my book because I could go slow during all the details. It's a weird blur to me, but I think that I might have been zapped by infrasound, the same thing that big cats use as low frequency growls. They could make you, pretty much get nauseous and sick. And it just came out of nowhere. It was very weird squirt, but I used to be embarrassed to talk about it, but now it's man, anybody would have crapped their pants in that incident.
Yeah. And I got to say, you're probably the only one that's going to come on here and tell that kind of story. So I appreciate that. Appreciate the laughs, man. That's pretty funny.
Heck yeah, man. I'm sweating.
What's up, Sonny? Did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, you're talking about Bigfoot a lot, but have you physically seen one yet? You have? And I mean,
yes, I have. I've had a grade A encounter when I was 12, and I've had many Class B encounters, and probably some other grade A encounters. Because once you open your eyes, you see them pretty much revealing themselves in many different occurrences. At least twice a week on hikes, I see strange shadows on my eyes, or I feel a weird chill. But when I was 12 years old, me, my friend Jake, and my friend Alex had an encounter with this thing called the Wolfman. The Wolfman is Sleepy Hollow. A couple weeks before that, they actually had a daytime encounter with this same beast. It crossed the front of them on a street when they were being driven home by a fireman. I actually got them to write a testimony for my first book because, of course, Crazy Connor can say all the wild stuff that happened in his childhood. But when I can actually provide other people that can maybe, paint the picture just a little bit different or better or clearer than me, it's really cool. And they say that they saw glowing eyes and that they think it was about 5'5". I didn't see any glowing eyes. I see dark fur that was darker than the night, and it was bigger than I could ever imagine. So I was thinking like 7 to 12 feet. But it happened one night right before a golf league. So it was a Friday night before our Saturday night golf league. He had a walkout basement, one of those glass doors that it's a complete openness, and it goes right to the backyard into a den and caves. And it's a Sleepy Hollow area. So, of course, it has the Headless Horseman legends. But also there's a drive-in theater and an abandoned swimming lake / spring that there used to be a cement diving board. There have been tons of reports of these ancient beings being magnetized to these things. I don't know if they kind of feed on the energy or they just like old abandoned structures. I'm not sure. But we felt this strange sense of just something watching us. They described it as rustling, like physically hearing something in the backyard. Again, I think ours was internal. I think it was an electronic zap, some kind of infrasound, some kind of safe one, because we were not sick, but we did become a little scared. We were shooting pool for hours down there, and then all together, we just felt some kind of dreadful, strange, ominous feeling from behind. So we turn off all the lights and we creep up in this corner, and we're looking through this little window, and we all see this weird being just watching us, stalking us from the forest. And after a few seconds, what probably felt like a few minutes, we dove into the staircase, so scared. And a couple minutes after, we go looking for it, nowhere to be found. After the next few hours, we're trying to watch movies and trying to ease back into it. We were so scared. I just remember trembling, being curled up. We actually went upstairs from the playroom, the basement room, all the way upstairs to the second floor. And his mom woke up the next morning and was asking us hey, why'd you leave the basement? And we told her that we actually saw a strange creature in the woods. And she said, you know what? We've heard strange howls and owl-like man calls coming from the woods every night since they've lived there. So it was kind of crazy to hear an adult kind of confirm our strangeness from the night before, because even still today, we're like, man, that feels like a dream. The only reason why I can really tap into it is because I've talked to so many people, and I've had other similar occurrences happen, decades later, that it's man, that wasn't just generated by 3 teenagers in their imagination. There was some kind of anomaly in that forest. And other people, other residents called it the Brunswick Blue Devil. Other people thought it was a chupacabra. I think it was a werewolf, and now the term dog man has really came afloat, but no one ever knew about that. And then we had a thing called a bear cat that it was as big as my dog. My dog Seiko was a black lab, and we had 2 blue heelers, my grandparents' dog, and we were going on a hike. And some black thing dropped out of a tree on top of us. Don't know if it was a feral panther or a werebear or something not really explained. But we've had tons of strange encounters in the Ohio Valley. Because
on top of you?
Not physically landing on us, but in the region. And it was shrieking. And me and Jake, I was with Jake again, we ran off. And the dogs ended up surrounding it because they were cow dogs. They were very aggressive. No dogs were hurt or anything. And my grandparents have had strange encounters too. They just call them big cats down there in southern Florida. Or southern Ohio, my bad.
Wow, that's crazy, man. So you were in southern Ohio?
Black? You said it was a black one?
Yes, it was black. And I kind of remember it, not mangy, but didn't have a thick coat of hair either. It looked like it was worn and weared and definitely feral. But it was bigger than any cat could be. It was as big as my black lab. So it had to be 60 to 100 pounds or a big 40.
Wow, man. So I don't know if you remember or if I told you, but I'm in Michigan. So I'm not too far. I'm Ann Arbor area. So I'm not too far from the Toledo area.
Oh yeah, not far at all, man. Yeah, I went to Bowling Green, dude, and
Okay.
I've spent a lot of time at Michigan State, and I've never been all the way up to Ann Arbor, but I've definitely experimented in Detroit. I've been right at the shelter where, of course, 8 Mile was filmed, and we had strange encounters and drunken experiences there. That venue is really haunted, and we heard banging on the walls. And I talked to a couple of the staff members, and they said, "Oh yeah, every night here, man, it gets stirred up." And then right across the street is where Harry Houdini had his final show, and where he pretty much died at. So that whole area is just very strange. And Ryan Gosling, he made a movie called Lost River about how weird Detroit and mystical it is. Because there's patches in Detroit that goes 11 miles in a row, all abandoned. And, you know, the movie Don't Breathe, that old man is sitting on a huge fortune with a ton of dangerous skills in the middle of that weird abandoned patch. Imagine how many true stories are hiding there in the Michigan municipal, man. It's very strange. But the Upper Peninsula of Michigan is like the mecca for Dogman, of course. So, of course, they carried over to Defiance, Ohio, and then they came all the way to Brunswick, Ohio, and messed with me and my friends. But I think there's many stories, and that's why I'm wearing my Cleveland Browns shirt, the Dog Pound. We started off as the Brownies, little elves. You know, Gemma Jade will tell you, the little brownies, little mysterious things, and that used to be our logo. But then after all the Dogman and Werewolf and Bigfoot sightings, the Grassman sightings in Ohio in the early 90s and early 2000s, I think they changed to the Dog Pound to represent, you know, because these fictional teams kind of represent the truth behind the location. The New York Giants, the San Francisco Giants, the Tennessee Titans, the Lake Erie Monsters, the whatever the Lake Champlain Lake Monsters is too. I know Champ is the Lake Champlain Monster, but there's a minor league baseball team named after it too. So there's just so much reality in between it. Just watch animated movies as well. Abominable, Missing Link, Smallfoot, Son of Bigfoot. There's tons of them that show you the magic. And all those mention healing, infrasound, echolocating, camouflaging, all the stuff these hard researchers are figuring out has already been right on the NBA team. Seattle Supersonics. Their mascot was a freaking Sasquatch, and he's supersonic. We're still having people argue about that in the community. Duh.
Dude, Rassel wants to know, he was just telling you he saw a brownie as a kid. He thinks it was a brown goblin. It looked like a brown goblin.
That sounds spooky, man. There's tons of sightings in Ohio, so I heard weird things about the brownies growing up, man. And every time you're falling asleep, guys, and you're scared of putting your fingers under your pillow because something's going to grab you, that's the little people. That's the elves. That's the gremlins. That's the ghoulies. These are these brownies that are going to come out of these little holes underneath your bed. I've interviewed probably 5 different people on my channel of them talking about these strange creatures, man. One guy, he lived by a Native American mound in his backyard, and he was digging into it, and he climbed into it, saw a little green little elf gremlin thing. And then my buddy Tristan Smith, he's a good friend of a couple people in the chat right now. He had a strange house elf that there's actually a physical hole underneath his bed, and it manipulates his PS3 and steals his games, and he has actually caught a physical glimpse of it one time. And then his nephew, his young cousin Wyatt, was being chased by a six-legged insectoid one time. So, man, there's some crazy things out there, and I think their energy all correlates with something. You know, when it's strange and trying to keep away from us as a whole, I'm sure they can bond over that.
Yeah, dude, I don't know if you caught that, but I've got this light that shines on my back wall here. It made it green. It was making it green. This light has like a flat surface. Like it was sitting on a flat surface. There's no way. This thing has never fallen over before ever. And as soon as you said that the shelter in Detroit was haunted, this light just slammed down. I'm still kind of like, I'm still trying to figure out how in the world that could have possibly happened, but I'm the only one here. It's just...
Lose yourself in the moment, the music, it's your better.
Yeah, maybe it wants to go into a little bit more detail on the haunted shelter, man. I mean, I know I'd like to hear a little bit more about that if you had any more details on that, because that place Yeah, that's where
I could
that's
just
where 8 Mile was
explain-
filmed.
Yeah, I could just explain my night there. We were going
That'd be
to
great.
a Sticky Fingers concert, who is a psychedelic reggae Australian band that is fighting against the establishment. And it was my first time ever seeing them, and it was such a monumental moment. And I went with who else? Jake Gaylord, my freaking spiritual psychedelic brother. But we also went with 2 girls, Perry and Marissa. And what's cool is both of them actually were friends with the band. And the band are like, they're gods in Australia, but they come to America, in the middle of Detroit, and it's like, hey, what's up, man? But they invited us backstage because, of course, they were friends with our girls. And they brought us backstage, so we were down in the basement of the shelter, drinking, smoking, lines of everything, crazy, wild stuff. And we heard banging on the wall coming from the actual shelter side, because upstairs is St. Andrews, it's a rock hall, and then downstairs is the shelter, the basement, where the rap battles used to happen, where the chaos happens, where the basement, or the bathroom where he puked up mom's spaghetti, these bombs are heavy. So I was peeing drunk, falling over in that same bathroom. But many people have reported just strange bangs, violently being pushed over, hearing yelling from inside. Even some of the acts have heard like, hey, 5 minutes, and they get all ready and they go up, they finally, pull themselves together and they go up and no one even called for them. So it's kind of cool that it's not all negative ones too. It's sometimes playful. It's like trying to keep the act and the entertainments there forever. And there's tons of crazy history there. That just reminded me of one of my favorite performances. I'm a musician too. I play guitar, but I was a rapper growing up, and I played at the Agora Ballroom, pretty much the most famous Cleveland stage. Kurt Cobain played there. Pretty sure AC/DC, a huge list of people. But we had a show, the Overlooked Youth. That was my rap group, the Toy Soldiers, TOY, the Overlooked Youth. And of course, the small soldiers that come to life, the Bigfoot gargoyle thing that leads them. It all connects. But in the Agora, there is a ghost of a yellow person in like a raincoat, and she'll always be just facing away from you backstage. Personally, I didn't see anything, but it was one of my first biggest shows. My dad was there. It was just the stakes were high, so the whole thing was very supernatural. And just being on stage, at a historical place, you feel that magic in your performance. You're like, wow, where did that come from? So sometimes you can channel that paranormal activity. And, hopefully Harry Houdini didn't rub off on me too much in Detroit. But yeah, Shelter is a great spot to check out. Of course, the Agora Ballroom in Cleveland. All these historical spots, definitely do your research on these places you do. You go to concerts. I'm always just, looking up the history of venues, and a lot more places are haunted that don't even get talked about it. When you're at a gas station and you feel comfortable with that, tenant, why not ask them, you ever have any strange stuff happen here? Like, it's something to talk about, and it's something to remember. So I just want everybody to get the heck out of their own way. Stop thinking your beliefs matter so much, because trust me, everybody's beliefs, society's beliefs, BS. NASA, BS. It's all the creator. There's heaven, there's hell, there's angels, there's demons. Every movie that has ever been made about monsters and paranormal activity, it's some kind of root to reality. So you're not winning any brownie points when, oh no, paranormal is not real, Sasquatch is not proven. Like, you're not cool. Giraffe skeptics don't even have conferences or conventions anymore. So Bigfoot skeptics, you can join that. Paranormal activity skeptics, you can't even describe your soul. You cannot be contaminated. It cannot be calculated. We own something inside of us that is magical. So to deny ourselves is just it's just a crime. I can't even come up with the freaking right words for it. It's a disaster. And I just try to, walk my line and try to inspire that magic with everybody. I work at a comic book store, and I get laughed at every single day for being the paranormal guy and the Bigfoot guy. And I'm like, you guys walking into here playing freaking Soul of Reavers and all these other fictional fantasy games that are based on amazing things in real life. It's like, oh my gosh, like where is that divide, where I'm living it? And a lot of people will come at me and say he doesn't know the difference between fact and fiction. Well, Johnny Bravo predicted the stuff that happened in September 2001. So come on, you have to get your freaking references from everywhere. You have to see it because the establishment, there's a truce there. There's some kind of thing in order that they literally have to provide it. They have to say exactly what they're going to do before they do it, and we have to accept it. And look what we've accepted so far. So we have to stand up, and we have to stand on our own 2 feet so we don't just fall for everything they give. I'm not trusting any of these stupid billionaires going to space. I'm in movies, guys. I'm in movies. I know what movie productions look like. They're just go to California and they just film it, and then they be like, oh yeah, Michael Strahan's in space this week. Like, oh my God. Or else they're just going up in high-powered balloons. But do not fall for everything the establishment is telling you. And it's such a sad placebo that they've been feeding us, man. They haven't done anything for us in the past generations. The moon landing was faked by Stanley Kubrick. There's footage of him filming it. There's footage of him, saying that 3 days before he died. And in The Shining, he came out and said it. There's pictures with him with the NASA guys. There's so much proof with it, but we still are like, oh yeah, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin. I could pull up 4 videos right now where Buzz Aldrin says he never went. No one filmed it. It was all animated. Like, it's so silly that we stand on these high mountains that we think we know the truth. Yes, the earth is flat. F the globe, dude. 100%. If you ever just Google, guys, Earth the Bible describes, and it will show you it's a fixed system. It's like a snow globe. The sun, the moon, the heaven above, the pillars of earth below us. It's a beautiful thing. And every single civilization ever has believed in it and found data on it. But then the NASA was started by Operation Paperclip when the Nazis came over after World War II. It's a crazy thing once you really tap into it. And then if you look at the gravestone, it says, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Why would Nazi NASA men have the dome on their gravestone? Oh, maybe because they know the difference. But ask NASA, guys, next time you go to the Kennedy Space Center over on the Space Coast, say, hey, where's heaven on your guys' diagram? They say, there's no heaven here, bud. You better good luck in the afterlife. No, I'm trying to tell you guys there is an afterlife and there is a heaven. So yes, there is planets and they're fixed in the firmament. I just posted it 12 hours ago on my Instagram, on my story. This is Mars. It's blinking. It's a deity, not a space rock. If you look at the space photos of Mars that they give us, like the surface photos too, all it is like New Zealand and Australian under a color grade. It's totally embarrassing. Again, if you dive through it, it's all proved wrong. All the NASA ISS harnesses, CGI and what's it called? Hairspray. If you look on a 0G plane, the girls' hairs, they drift. They have some kind of flow to them. You look at the ISS, it stands straight up. It's truly embarrassing. Again, I posted that, and I don't want to seem like I'm preaching. I'm just opening up the doors for other people. Research all this crap, guys, because all it takes is 5 minutes because they didn't even try to cover it up. I've posted the video of the harnesses, the CGI, the hairspray. It's like 3 or 4 minutes long. It totally shows it. It shows that they can't be trusted, so we cannot stand on any NASA crap. And, oh, man, the Navy confirmed that UFOs exist. I'm sure my MySpace page confirmed those same YouTube videos existed back 8 years ago. So let's not jump for joy. Let's not fall for Project Bluebeam, all these projections and holograms they're going to be throwing at us. I just saw yesterday how they hired like 12 whatever they are, like from the church, to get us ready for alien connection. It's all a facade, guys. Do not fall for the establishment. It is very silly.
Casey wants to know, Connor, you might have missed it, but do you believe all Bigfoot are interdimensional?
Probably in their core, they are all interdimensional, but I believe that tapping into these other energies is probably a trained thing, just like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You have to get good at it. But scientifically, it is possible because protons, electrons, neutrons, they come in 2 forms, particle form that is solid 99.9% of the time, and then wave form. They could be waves. And I feel like the other things in the forest, these beings, these other elementals, they can tap into that grid and maybe manipulate it a little easier than us. But us human beings, if we didn't have all these distractions like poison in our water and Wi-Fi zapping the crap out of us when we fall asleep and having to remember all this petty stuff for our weak paying jobs, we would be able to tap into that magic. But I think they can maybe tap into portals or slow us down or turn into energy balls. But that is a learned skill, a learned trait. But maybe after a while, they could bring their companions with them. But I've heard many different things of that's how orbs get spread. That's when they get lost in these portals. They get stuck. It gets really strange outside of that. But yes, I believe that they can tap in to portals and are interdimensional. But I think we are too, because all we are is energy. And I learned in science class that we can tap into waveform. But of course, our true moments of being are pretty much in death. When our pineal gland floods with DMT, and then we become our waveform and then go through the energy boundary of the firmament and go into heaven. And that's when it's like, are we already in heaven? Is this all a dream? Is this a life after death?
Ida says, Connor, have you encountered any orbs out in the woods?
Yes, I've definitely seen a handful of strange lights and
Good
orbs.
question.
I've never seen any that like really kind of scared me. I've heard so many strange stories with like blue lights kind of playing tricks on people. And then another missing 401 case, a father was out there and his son was like down and out, pretty much dying. And then they saw two headlights in the middle of the woods. He ran after them, and then he came back to his son. He was gone. So I am definitely a little leery of these strange orbs. I've definitely seen them more in my pictures because when I was out with the Wolfman, that's what he calls himself, because my buddy Alex, he says he can shapeshift into a wolf, a white wolf, when he meditates. And I've had a lot of strange encounters with him. He's done ayahuasca a handful of times, so I don't deny him. I don't doubt him, He said he's found fur a few times after he's meditated. But he has... brought me into a lot of strange stuff. And when we went to Helltown, one of the most famous, haunted, notorious, scary places on Earth, we were there investigating a Native American cemetery that's in the middle of the woods. And he had this high-powered camera that he told me that when you look away, when you're trying to catch orbs, look away from the screen so they can present themselves. So whenever I'm looking for orbs, I'm always taking pictures, like looking away from the screen. And just recently in the Tatum house in Mayaca, I got a nice orb. And in that house, there's a goat man chair. Well, in the orb, I saw like a lamb or a goat face, and might be my mind finding things, because I drew the connection, but it was weird. So yes, orbs are everywhere and anywhere, even if they aren't visible right now. But they say to beware of the blue orbs, and the orange and red orbs are friendly. I don't know if what me and Jake saw in the sky, that UFO encounter, was maybe a big orb or it was a UFO. I don't know, but I definitely have seen strange stuff, weird lights and weird beams. I was just live 2 nights ago in a cemetery, and I saw some weird lights coming off of a grave. And I don't know if it was like reflection of the moon or some kind of weird beam, but yeah, man, keep your eyes. Light is everywhere, and it's a physical thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that see orbs, so there's a huge connection to that. Malou wants to know, she's been dying to ask you a question. She says, bottled water dangerous. There's a girl on Chad's channel, only bottled water. I find that weird. Money, stuff in the water.
Yeah, sadly, all the water kind of has been tampered with. Like tap water, you has to go through so many different things and dirtiness, and you got to think our filter systems are not up to par. And then bottled water, it sits in plastic, and you don't know if it gets hot in the trucks or in the back. And then also just the stuff that they put in the water, the chemicals. I used to think like the chemicals and the vitamins and stuff and the minerals are like good for us, but no, it's to keep us docile and to keep us not thinking. And I've definitely not used like certain types of toothpaste because I thought it, messed up my pineal gland, and it's left me on the outside of a lot of circles because people think I'm so strange. Everything's a conspiracy, but it really is when all the patents go back to the same 7 families.
Yeah, and a lot of the conspiracies that people thought were crazy end up turning out to be true. It's pretty nuts. I don't know if we had another question. I don't think so. If not, I want to go to like California stories and Michigan stories, because Sonny's from California and I'm from Michigan, and I'm sure you have some more stories from Michigan, and California is definitely a hot spot.
California is definitely a dope spot because, my story is I started in Ohio and then I moved to Florida and I lived out of my car. I took the passenger seat out of my car. I built a bed and I ended up joining a punk rock musical, Butch Queen and the Bad Habits. It was a very impressive, weird show, man. There is witches, potions, but a bunch of weird LGBTQ stuff, which I totally support, but it was out of my comfort zone. So it was totally cool for me because I lived in Ohio and I was living out of my car, and I always wanted to work at the pub and live above the pub. Well, I joined couch surfing. It's this app, kind of like Facebook for travelers. I made a profile and I requested to stay at a couple places. And I was living out of my car, sleeping at 24-hour gas stations, marinas, state parks, wherever I could get in and fit in. And I was refereeing a flag football tournament in Lakeland. So I finished that tournament. They put me up in a hotel. I actually got a bunch of supplies from the other referees because they heard I was living out of my car. They thought that was hilarious. And then the first people I stayed with were the punk rock musical. And I was like, I went to college. I play guitar. I love movies. And I need a place to stay. And they needed a stage manager. So they ended up hiring me as their stage manager. And we toured all around Florida, did a bunch of the play. It was a full-on musical. It was like an hour and 15 minutes. Super impressive. I was so proud of it. I still very am proud of it because it covered a lot of crazy stuff. And there was taps of like Aleister Crowley and swamp monsters and strange magic. So I was still my paranormal self while there was the crazy madness and singing going on. But we had huge dreams to take that to California and back, and be in Broadway and huge lights. Well, of course, real life hit a show with 15 people is hard to take on the road. Well, sure enough, we just took the band with us and just ditched the musical and just did DIY pop-up shows. Well, we rode from Lakeland, Florida, right by Tampa Bay, all the way to California, and we stopped at the Pascagoula River, the Honey Island Swamp in New Orleans, Jackson, Mississippi, Dallas, Texas to see where JFK was assassinated. We stopped at the Grand Canyon to see where the giants used to roam, Las Cruces, New Mexico, Dripping Springs, Hermit's Cave. And I was just coordinating all these spots, all my favorite stories that I've ever heard across America. And we were easy riders, This is all the movies we've ever watched growing up. You're driving from one coast to the other. What could go wrong? Rest stop, all this. Of course, people tried breaking into our cars at the rest stops. Police thought we were moving drugs. We were just trying to get to the other coast and play shows and make change, man. But we were going to Koreatown because one of our old Lakeland friends was living in L.A. He was actually part of James Franco's little film crew before it kind of went down for going sideways. But Lorenzo was inviting us out there, so our whole goal was to make it to California. And I'm a huge fan of Charles Manson and the Manson family and the crazy phenomenon that they were doing in the desert over there. They were doing a lot of LSD, and they were levitating through freaking rattlesnake pits. And if that doesn't interest you, then I don't know what the heck will. But I'm from Ohio, where Charlie came from, and so I got that inside me a little bit. And one of the prisons that I used to go do tours with by my grandparents' house, Moundsville Prison, Charles Manson's mom was kept there, and little Charlie actually grew up there. So that was a big part of the tour. But when I moved to Lakeland, my neighbor, Larry Big Prine, he was actually friends with the man who was Charles Manson's nemesis, Paul Crockett. And Paul Crockett, he was a man who found gold, an inspector, or I forget what the dang word
Prospector.
is. Prospector. I knew it was a store. Yeah. But he was a prospector in California, and he got into Charles Manson's mind, actually. Tex Watson, the man who actually did the murders, he said through a series of coincidences, Paul Crockett was able to play mind games with Manson. And Manson was the guy that couldn't get cracked, of course. We all knew that. but Paul Crockett said that he put some kind of safety boundary on his mountain. And a couple times Manson and his gang would try to sneak up on him at night, and their car would stall out before it got up there. So it kind of played into it. And Watson said it was just a coincidence. But my friend Larry Big Prine actually went out to Paul Crockett's cabin and stayed with him in California for a long time, and he was Manson's nemesis, and I was Manson's fanboy. So it was really funny when I moved right next door to him, and we're having all these crazy nightly talks about the Manson family. And he actually gave me a book written by a different Paul, who was Charles Manson's right-hand man. And that book was like $250, and I had it autographed. I actually left it in the Lakeland house after one of the hurricanes, but definitely changed my life reading about it. But Larry Big Prine, he was my neighbor in Lakeland. Rest in peace, man. He was twice as old as all of us, but he was walking around the block every single morning, every single night. Plus, he was a podcaster himself. Larry Big Prine, the 7 Principles of Huna. He has awesome videos here on YouTube. Definitely check him out in the future, guys. He was a huge inspiration. And I've been podcasting since the Blog Talk Radio days where you call this weird number on the phone. You know, I used to do mixed martial arts, MMA radio shows back in the day. But
cool.
He was an early pioneer to this YouTube. So it's just so crazy that it hits on many different levels. But then when we went out to California, of course, I was going to all the spots that the Manson family was hanging out at, and where, you know, River Phoenix passed away at the Viper Club, which, of course, it doesn't exist anymore. But the areas are super spiritual and, of course, Holly weird, guys. You go up there in the mountains and you'll just see some weird stuff. And there's definitely underground chambers. And we went to a couple weird parties. Luckily, I didn't open the door on any strange stuff, but they weren't getting any of my blood. They weren't getting my soul.
They probably wanted it. They wanted that energy.
Oh, they're coming. They're coming, man. I've been interrogated by the police. I've done interviews with, you know, the Discovery Channel producers. I've been on the front page of the newspaper. I've been followed at my work. I've had weird people pretend they know me when they don't. I've had, I think they're skinwalkers, show themselves to me, and then there's some kind of other entity. So, yes, I think the Men in Black are watching, and strange stuff is on the horizon for all of us. But that's why I'm just trying to awake the masses, because they can't take us all down.
I was just gonna say, yeah, it's getting ever more hard for them to take these people down, or take everyone down that's preaching the truth, you know, because of the instantaneous communication that we have now. You know, information spreads really quick, so.
For sure. You could go live, and then someone else could screen cap it and then save it to a different database. But, you know, no one is they have the power source. Like, look at the light bulbs, guys. Anything with light, anything that has power, they could tap into. You know, it's like the Matrix, but we have to break free, and we have to find our own Trinity, because we are all the one or the two.
Start building cabins and living out in the woods.
That's seriously what we want to do, and that's what a lot of people are doing, but they're closing it down. You know, these people with tiny homes are living off grid. They're getting hit with permits. They want everybody dependent on the system and drinking their water and needing their stuff from their store. They don't want you growing your stuff and being self-sufficient. And that's why I want everybody to be self-sufficient and be prepared, because the establishment never cared about it. And the last 2 years, come on, guys, you think they're really worried about us? No, they worried about us. They don't worry about our well-being. They're worried about us doing something to them.
You know how California is always in a drought? Here a couple of years ago, they made it a law where we couldn't catch the rainwater. Like if I was to put up a 50-gallon drum with a catch to catch the rainwater, that was California's water. We would get a ticket for doing that. So in other words, they own the water as it's falling out of the sky.
That's insane, man.
So
you know who had a lot of money behind that law being passed is the Nestle
somebody
owner.
told them that a year into that, told them that their water that was falling out of the sky just ruined their roof, so California needed to pay for it. And they changed that law quick. As soon as they found out they were going to get in trouble for something, they went ahead and let us catch the rainwater again.
That's a good way to get around that.
Yep. But yeah,
Fight back.
The water.
Yeah, your property is screwing my roof up.
Mm-hmm.
So you better get over here and start cleaning up.
Yep.
That's pretty phony, man. Yeah, I mean, it gets out of control sometimes. Sometimes the power, they just can't deal with it. It's too much for them.
Oh, 1,000,000%. They try to break us down at every way, man. You see a inspirational artist get out there. I know Sonny was talking about Mac Dre and Mac Miller last night, and look at all the inspirational artists that have been taken from us way too young, and indirectly or directly, they pump these guys filled with drugs and strange thoughts, and they create idols out of them, and then once they're done with them, they become monsters and exposable, or expendable and disposable. It's very sad to see. That's why you have to be strong within yourself and can't rely on the system, and can't be fake, because that doesn't go very far.
Yep, I totally agree with that, man. Luckily, we don't have as many weird lockdown stuff. Not lockdown, but like crazy regulations over here in Michigan that, not yet anyway, that California has seen. But
luckily, your governor, plays by some of the rules. Sonny's got, Gavin Newsom out there covering all his crimes and hatred. So that's all it is. At the same time he gets caught with something, he starts putting unfair predicaments, and then he's going on a book tour, selling his books in New York. Like, it's a freaking joke. So stand up tall or fall for everything, guys.
I hear that, man. Strong message. Man, so where do we go from here? We've covered Bigfoot, aliens. Where are you at on ghost entities and shadow people? Shadow people seems to be a big topic right now.
Yeah, and Hat Man and these strange demons out in the forest. Yes, I've definitely had my fair share of run-ins with shadow people or weird occurrences. One time I saw this shadow cloud go across my mom's sky, and it was right after one of my cats died, and I kind of took it as it was a sign from them in a positive way. So sometimes these darkest shadows are the brightest things in our memories. So do not be scared of everything that's out there in the darkness. Try to, become one with the light, because there is a strong code between dark and light that you can't be harmed for no reason, So walk powerful, walk with that light, but also walk with your head on a swivel. But yes, definitely. Energy is never created nor destroyed, so it has to go somewhere, and we're always in this realm. So again, I think it's all just bursts of energy and maybe residual that was stuck in that moment. And right here is the Civil War battleground in a lot of stained soil. So you hear it. You hear a lot of activity pretty much everywhere. And then after natural disaster like Hurricane Michael, it was all over the place. And they actually made a documentary right in this area about how the hurricane brought back a lot of the paranormal activity. The Georgia witch lady, I hope it's the one. It's Huggin' Molly, if that's the one she's looking for. But that's actually Alabama. But to me, right here in the Panhandle,
what's Huggin' Molly? Hold on, what's Huggin' Molly?
Yes,
Huggin' Molly.
Huggin' Molly means two different things here in the Florida coast. It means, you're late night at the club, you're still grinding your teeth, hugging that MDMA or something. But then there's the strange creature, and it is Huggin' Molly from Abbeville, Alabama. And it's so awesome because if you go to Alabama, it says it right on the sign. Welcome to Alabama, home of Huggin' Molly. And then it's got her running after you. But she is a 7-foot tall creature that will come after dark and squeeze you if she finds you so hard that your bones will break. And she will scream in your ear till you go insane and then death. And it's so wild because I've talked to a lot of people from that area, and, the older people, they're so innocent, but they got so much going on. The older black people, they think that Huggin' Molly is an old white lady. That's what they were taught. And the older white people, they were taught Huggin' Molly was an older black lady. So it was taught in their family traditions, inside that I don't want to say hatred, because it wasn't hatred. It was just difference. It was always what's different scares you. But what I think is it is an entity. It's some kind of shadow creature. But it is so interesting because I think it's something connected to fairies and Bigfoot too, because this thing is 7 foot tall, 10 foot tall. Yup, there it is. I have done a video right by that sign and investigating in those woods. But there's also Huggin' Molly's restaurant right in the center of town, too. So if you guys are ever in Alabama, guys, please check out Abbeville Huggin' Molly. But she's not even my favorite girl from Alabama. My favorite cryptid is the Mobile Wolfwoman. It is a female dog man, and she is curvy. Check out the pictures of her, and you'll understand why I've been investigating her track for the last 3 years. But in Mobile, Alabama, they got some crazy dogman encounters, and back generations, they saw it was a female. And I think that's very interesting. Back to California real quick, the most famous Sasquatch encounter and footage. Oh, yeah, look at her, man. Like, I would swipe right on her in a
Swipe
heartbeat.
right for sure.
Yeah, dude. I would pay to get the premium so I could super like her. And I'm cheap. I'm cheap. Amber sent me $10 the other day. And I'm not cheap on this. Amber sent me $10 the other day, Amber's Paraworld, to get Necrophonics app. And my stupid phone won't verify. I had to send a picture of my card, my ID, and none of it works. It's outrageous. But I'm trying to get the app. And for me to purchase an app or to make a purchase speaks volumes. So the Mobile Wolfwoman, she has my heart. If you're listening out there, girl, I'm going to be speaking at the Great Florida Bigfoot Conference. We're going to be camping at the Green Swamp. If you want to scare my friends and maybe, cuddle with me in my sleeping bag after, my tent's open. But
there you go.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Real quick, while we're on the Alabama thing, the third in trifecta, the white thing. It is a white Bigfoot. It's very cool. I actually have a MetaZoo collectible card of it, but it is like a Yeti, an abominable snowman that has been seen in Alabama. A lot of people don't know that Alabama is like the Amazon of America. It has so many rivers and lakes. A lot of people think lakes and ponds. They think Minnesota. No, guys, Alabama. Definitely check it out, and beware of the Nazis, because that's where they all came over to after Operation Paperclip. Of course, there's NASA stuff all throughout Huntsville, and my good buddy Steve Stockton from Missing Person Mysteries, we were talking about Operation Paperclip, and one of his best friends growing up, he was German. His dad was a Nazi and had an underground bunker in his house. So that is 100% confirmed. We know Operation Paperclip is real. Watch the TV show Hunters, guys. Amazon, Al Pacino, Hitler's still alive.
Man, that's definitely a hole you can go down, rabbit hole that you can go down for sure with the Nazis migrating over. Where was that you said?
To Huntsville, Alabama.
Huntsville, Alabama. See, I've even heard that they went to like some island somewhere.
I'm sure they did. They pretty much took over our education, our politics, and our media. So it's really interesting to see our country become what they've wanted after so long. It's very interesting. But I definitely recommend people go challenge the Smithsonian, go challenge NASA, go up to the Humboldt Museum in California where they used to have the 2 giant skulls from the Lovelock Cave. Now it's under new ownership, and they're like, oh, those skulls never existed. BS, man. I saw the pictures, Put the pedal to their neck. Stop letting them get off so easy.
Dude, that's another thing is the crystal skulls. What do you know about them? Yeah, like how they can't figure out how they were made, and it looks like they've been polished over long periods of time, and
I think it's very similar to the pyramids and the mounds too, guys. There is ancient math and sacred geometry behind all this, and it's either made by lasers or made by the mind. And I think our mental, when you're with other people following the same goal, great things can happen. And I think they're all just instruments or tools or beacons for something more. So yes, the crystal skulls, of course, get talked about in Indiana Jones and even referenced in new treasure hunting shows, but it's what we're always after. And I was talking about last night, the Voynich manuscript. There is so many codes and special theories out there that can lead us through these cracks. And there is hundreds of continents out there. There is an existence beneath our feet. And I feel like the crystal skulls, the pyramids, the Native American mounds, all the math behind it is some kind of answer to get us closer to the creator. And that's what my whole thing is about. Like, if Bigfoot is real, then what else is? And that's our closest bridge to what's in the skies. You know, people laugh at me like it's some kind of joke. Of course, I have fun and stuff, but this is as serious as the hardcore science, the hardcore religion, and whatever else is serious in society these days.
Oh yeah, absolutely, dude. Yeah, the crystal skulls, for some reason, they've just always, I've been drawn to those for some reason. Like, I want to learn a lot more information on those, because I've heard that there's like a set where those are like the OGs, and then there's like all these other crystal skulls that were modeled after those ones. So like the OG stories, I want to learn more about that for sure. That's a topic I need to dig into.
I'm sure they're used for something together when they're all together, kind of like the stones of Thanos. They give us these little peeks into it. It's like Power Rangers. When they all came together, they made the ginormous Dino Ranger. So I think there's, glimpses of truth that we've been seeing and kind of spoon-fed over time. And I've just narrated over 10 hours of mound builder excavation newspaper articles, and they talk about giant skulls, and some of them have horns and huge brow ridges, but they're usually in a seated position facing the east, covered in rubies, copper, and gold. So we had kings and queens in our land, guys. So I cannot worship these phony politicians that go up to the queen's freaking cabin for fun. Got no time for them.
Got no time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that. What's how come you think they were looking towards the east? Is that just because that's where the sun comes up?
Yep, they're sun worshipers. So yeah,
Okay.
they're always facing the east. Because imagine that, man. You survive that long night and you see that sun in the morning. There's nothing better than that, man. Look at it. We're living it right now, man. We watch the sun come up.
That's
It's
right.
beautiful. But the New York Giants, there have been tons of excavations in New York. Wheeling, West Virginia, Moundsville, West Virginia, San Francisco had a ton. On my SoundCloud, guys, more than 10 hours of anonymous encounters narrated and then newspaper articles. And I always say it, front page, back page, different decades, different newspapers. It wasn't just fabricated. It was news back in the day. They found all these giant bones. 12 giant skeletons found 14 feet in length. 60 skeletons found 9 foot in length. There's so many different articles that they have correlations. They never connected. They never converse with each other, but they're all facing the east. They're all in a seated position. How are these exact details matching up? And of course, not all of them are going to be accurate and authentic. That's where you have to just bring it all together. And if there's enough correlations, then it's easy to weed out what's not. But if you're ever in the Ohio Valley, guys, check out the Wheeling area for one, because there's tons of crazy mounds and stuff. But the Adena Mound in Moundsville, because they have excavated giant skeletons from there. And I have been to the Kolomoki Mounds here in Georgia, did a video on it. 60 feet pyramid. And of course it's covered in grass now, but back in the day, it looked exactly like the pyramids of Gaza. And then in Letchworth, in Tallahassee, Lake Jackson, Chattahoochee Mounds, Fort Walton Mounds, all the mounds in this region, they all align with the summer solstice and the winter equinox. And that is a beautiful thing because, of course, Chichen Itza lines with that. And, of course, over the giant megaliths, over Stonehenge, they all align with that too. So there's some kind of sacred knowledge behind it, and there's some kind of diagram behind Earth and the ley lines, and there's some kind of math and electricity behind it. So if we can tap into it, maybe we can feel that power. And I think like some of these structures that Sasquatch with the tree bends and the arches and the teepees, maybe they are tapping into it themselves. And then again, the mounds magnetize these creatures. I have so many strange encounters. But again, real quick, Kolomoki mounds, you could go into a burial mound, and it's like $5, but you do a little tour. And I remember this feeling in my chest. It's like a warmth that I felt going in there, and I felt it a couple other times in my life, but I don't know if it was like the atmosphere, like physically, or it was internal, but it was mind-blowing, and it brought me closer. And we hit that on the way up to our Tennessee camp out with Old Bear Den, Manimal Research, and Squatch and Cowboy. So we were doing a Squatch and camp out, and we were tapping into the mound builders on the way, and I don't think there's any other way to do it. And I encourage everybody to get to the mounds. And I'm from Ohio, guys, more than 10,000 mounds, and the Serpent Mound is something special. And
I was just going to ask you about that.
It has special properties in it, like special type of metals that it will glow under certain circumstances. And there's actually another Serpent Mound at Blood Run up in the Idaho area, Minnesota, South Dakota area, my bad. But it was a camp out. The Blood Run was a meeting spot for more than like 25 Native American tribes, and I'm guessing a lot of giants as well. So those serpent mounds and these other mounds that are shaped as sacred things, they have special meaning, man. And it's like, what were they trying to communicate with the sky? You see all that artwork on the mountainsides, these huge geoglyphs and ground glyphs. It's like, man, these things are miles long, and huge thunderbirds, like, they were trying to communicate with that same orange light that I was trying to communicate with.
Yeah, that's one of the things I live pretty close to, and I still haven't gotten down to Serpent Mound yet, but I live so close to it that I need to definitely make the drive for sure.
100%. And while you're down there, go hit up the Mothman Bridge, Point Pleasant. Might as well go hit up Flatwoods, West Virginia, because the Flatwoods Monster Museum's there. And then right around the corner, there's a West Virginia Bigfoot Museum, like literally 2 seconds down the corner. So Same thing. I'm speaking into I got to do it too, because I've spent a lot of time in Point Pleasant, but haven't really hit up Flatwoods. And every time I drive up from Florida up to Ohio, I definitely got to hit multiple things. I'm like the pit stop king, you know. On the way to the last Lakeland, Florida conference, we stopped at the Devil's Mill Hopper. It's like a old sinkhole that used to be an entrance to hell, they said. And then we stopped at the Jeepers Creepers Diner that Darian Church went to. And then we went to the jail that they filmed that at. So I'm like, I always, scope it out. RoadsideAmerica.com, guys, and Atlas Obscura. Whenever you guys are going somewhere, check those 2 sites and see what is on your way. We pass so many things to talk about just because we're so in a hurry. Stop at everything you can, guys. There's geocaches. There's cool Pokemon zones. There's treasure hunts going on everywhere, every day. Just absorb it and appreciate it at the very minimum.
Roadside America, and what was the other one?
Atlas Obscura.
Atlas Obscura? I'll have to check
Very
that out,
cool
man.
site, man. And I've actually submitted a few pages to Atlas Obscura, so it's really cool when I visit a place and I'm like, wow, this isn't on here. And then I create a web page and then a bunch after. So, I understand gatekeeping some places because you don't want the population to flood into, like some of these Florida springs. They're mystical and blue. You don't want everybody pooping in the water. But some of these places like Roadside America, Atlas Obscura, other things that are just out there waiting for us, we have to tap into it. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's cool that sites like that exist, because when you're driving, you're not really thinking about stuff like that. Most people aren't.
Mel, I did not see those tracks, not at least directly. Maybe I did see them the next morning when someone else was resharing them, but I'm very interested.
Uh-oh, he's froze up.
Yep.
3 toes, 5 toes, 6 toes. There is many different imprints in the ground. And of course, the fingerprints, they're called dermal ridges, guys. And there's a break in their foot that kind of gives them a little bit more power and control, and it's called the mid-tarsal break. And that's what kind of differentiates their foot between our foot. But again, I think there are so many feral people out there and lost tribes that are still living off the land that sometimes you will find a skinny man-like print that might be a hairy man. And then deep in caves, I actually casted a footprint a couple weeks ago, And this one is smaller than my foot, but it was very mysterious. And I think it was more like a rake or a crawler or maybe some kind of small Sasquatch. But this really doesn't have the mid-tarsal break, but it does have this slide. It was going up a muddy slide, so its toes slid in it. And luckily, toes and then the slide. It is so cool. And plaster of Paris, guys. Everybody go to Lowe's or Walmart. Plaster of Paris. It costs $4. Always have a cup and a bag and a mixer ready. And you just got to use river water. That's what I do. You don't got to use your drinking water. But I made a few other casts. A couple have broken, but you have at least the toes. And it's cool to have physical evidence that you can bring to conferences and show people and literally have it in there. But I think this creature was a cave crawler or maybe a homeless man who lived on the railroad. But we were scouting for our movie, The Void Cat, and we went in this one cave called Crystal Frog Cavern. That's what we call it because there's a bunch of crystals and there's a bunch of frogs. And it's a really cool place. I've done a lot of videos there. The first time I ever went there was after dark, so I was lucky to even find it. We marched on a railroad for like 4 miles and finally got there. And now I found a little easier path. But took my buddy Jack McClellan there scouting for our film. And we filmed for like 2 hours that day. And we spot this footprint and he's filming me, and in that footage, huge electrical interference, huge problems, man. The whole audio thing was messed up and his mind was blown because he witnessed it and he recorded it. It was just really crazy. But then the very next day I came back to cast it with my buddy Chris Hurley. And that day was one in history because we had an encounter with a rattlesnake, with this giant rattlesnake, and I put it on TikTok, and it has like 700,000 views.
Oh, geez.
So it's really crazy that, I'm looking for Bigfoot footprints. I actually lost my walking stick that day, so we were going to find my walking stick, and I was going to cast a footprint.
Yeah, we keep losing him. I wonder if his battery's going dead on his phone or something.
I don't know.
It's really funny that, like, unplanned these crazy things could happen. But yes, definitely bring your plaster of Paris. Mel, dropping bombs down there. Connor, have you looked into the Nahani Valley? Yes, but I still have my head, so I have not visited there. But a lot of people went to the Nahani Valley searching for an oasis, searching for lost treasure or somewhere away from everything. And they say its ecosystem is very diverse there, but they kept finding people without heads, and it's very sad. It kind of reminds me of the San Francisco stories, when all the gold miners were going out there and they were all losing their heads. Port Chatham, Nahani Valley, and the 67 gold miners, not the 67 gold miners. 67 was Bluff Creek, but all the other gold miners in that Bluff Creek area. But yes, the Nahani Valley is a very dangerous place. Mr. Ballin, I'm pretty sure, did an awesome breakdown of it. Of course, watch that. He is a little bit more prepared and calmer than my crazy wild style. But I go by the spin of my little my tires. I was gonna say the earth, but we are stationary, guys.
Amber had a question here. Have you ever found any signs of feral people in the Appalachian Mountains?
Yes, I definitely think they were close to my car back when I would camp out, sleeping on the side of the road in the Appalachian Mountains. I think they are always closer than they appear. South Force 10, he's a great YouTuber that I've talked to a few times. His family lives in the Tennessee mountains, and after Dennis Martin got taken, his family was recruited to hunt down these creatures and these feral people. And I think there was a mixture of Sasquatch and these just people that were outside of society. We've seen movies like Wrong Turn kind of, showcase who they are, and they're not all mutants. And the new movie kind of shows how they can be educated and organized, and it's not all just treacherous life out there. There is a reason why they live off grid. But yes, I've definitely seen a lot of stories firsthand and felt things, but I've never seen any of their camps or anything. I've definitely came upon homeless camps, but it wasn't the tree villages that I think these people do live in deep in the forest.
Hey, speaking of movies, what movie comes to mind when you think of like the most authentic, like they're they're straight up just telling us facts in the movie.
Who? Well, I know they used 2001 Space Odyssey film clips for the moon landing, so that had something to do with it. But it's got every movie, every single movie, guys, ranging from the superhero movies to X-Men to Independence Day, I Am Legend, I, Robot, maybe The Matrix. I don't think we all live in a simulation. I think we are being simulated right now. We're like moving towards that direction. But I am a huge fan of many scary movies like The Descent, because that's a huge one about the cave crawlers in the West Virginia area. Lord of the Rings, all about Middle Earth, orcs, elves, that all-seeing eye, the ring that gives you all the power. Harry Potter, how there's two worlds going on right now and us muggles have no idea about it. And then, of course, just simple things like all the Christmas movies. There is some kind of truth to it. But I love movies. I am huge on writing movies and acting in movies and reviewing movies. If anybody is on the app called Letterboxd, Letterboxd, it's a social media platform for movie watching. You rate and review movies, and you could share what you watch with your friends and recommend stuff. And I have an awesome profile on there. I have more than 10,000 followers. I've reviewed and rated more than 2,200 movies. So I am definitely well-versed on the cinema. And that's what I went to college for. I studied film at Bowling Green and at Tri-C, where Cuyahoga Community College is where Holly Berry went. And my teacher, Bronislav Tatatovic, he was in like the new Fast and the Furious. And it's just really cool that, you know, people you surround yourself with when they're doing stuff that you want to do. And then a couple of years later, you're walking that walk. Like, dude, I used to be so happy to be like in Seth Breedlove's credits. Like, thank you, Connor Flynn, for donating. I was like, yes. Now I'm like, yo, when am I getting a documentary? You know, like,
right.
I've walked into my own now. You know,
Yep.
I used to think I was me back in Ohio, but then I lived out of my car. I've been desperate. I've been vulnerable. I've needed help. I've been in need, and I've doubled down in depth. I've tripled down. I've become who I've needed to be, and it's still an ongoing process. I feel like I'm halfway there. I'm getting there. I'm gaining on myself, and I just want to encourage everybody, because if we can all get closer to our true selves, then it's going to be a little easier for all of us, because, you know, teamwork makes the dream work, and we're all catalysts. And when we're all thinking, it's powerful. Same thing with group meditation. If you could, you know, design multiple things going at one angle, it's powerful. You all hum, you all do deep breaths, you all raise your shoulders to the same thing. You combine energy, guys. It's very important.
Yeah, man, that's one thing people keep telling me I need to meditate. Still haven't meditated. I'm getting there. One of these days.
Hey, just do some hums in the shower or some deep breaths. I always say, me and Spooky were talking, you know, it doesn't have to be guru, you know, sit like this and levitate like Yoda and Charles Manson. No, dude, just deep breaths before you go to bed, you know, or just get outside the static. Like, in a way, this is your meditation, you know, when you can just tune in and think deep and let the guest unfold, and then, you know, it's beauty in that moment. So you are meditating. Don't sell yourself short. You're not getting to where you know your goals are, but it's a process, you know. And look at this, we're already ahead of the curve or ahead of the flat line. You know, we're ending 2022 or see, I'm really ahead of the curve. I'm ending 2022, ending 2021 strong. And if we can, you know, have some clarity going into it, and maybe, you know, set some goals, or maybe just, you know, have some things we want to achieve ourselves, and maybe not concrete, but just hold ourselves to a high stipulation. I feel like if we can wake up sooner than later, we're already ahead of it, you know, and it's never too late. Like, I just taught myself guitar a few years ago, and I held such a burden on my childhood because I played sports, and I felt like it got me nowhere. I'm like, I'm not in the NBA. What the heck did that get me? You know, I should have been in music class playing guitar. At least I could be, you know, around the fire getting girls now. And I had that hatred, you know, and that weird feeling, and that elephant on my back, you know. Then sure enough, I just got out of my own way, taught myself guitar, which I'm not very good, but I could play around a campfire. But now I can accept my childhood and look back at it. I'm like, wow, being on those teams got me ready for everything I needed to. So it really showed me that my path was always mine, and nothing seems to be like planned out perfectly, but it always falls into place when you walk that walk. So don't get caught up in that short-term goal, just the long-term well-being, man. And I definitely, and I know that I get caught up every single day. Like I said the first time on UFO Garage, we are all walking conundrums. We are all contradictions. But we can break free from that, and we're not stuck to what we are yesterday, man. We can always adapt and, overcome. So it's a beautiful thing. But just some deep breath in the shower and some hums once in a while, bro, and you are already getting to it 1,000,000%.
That's awesome. What kind of benefits do you get from meditating?
Oh, ranging from peace away from the static to clarity to creativity for my books. Sometimes I have so much BS or just manipulated stuff in my mind that I just have to get away and let my soul speak. So if I could just get away for 15 minutes and, stretch out all my extremities and just forget, then I could just start fresh. So starting fresh, like I said, just waking up in the morning and seeing that sun, that dark night and getting to that bright day. It's just inspiration and refreshing. It gets me away from my migraines. It loosens up my neck a little bit. It just brings me back to who I was supposed to be. I've heard so many stories of Bigfoot moms humming to their child that I think there is definitely some kind of sacred vibrations and frequencies inside of it. And I am huge on kitty cats. When they purr, they have a special type of quartz crystal in their pineal gland, and it just is a catalyst, and it just shoots out beams of heals. And just think, man, I was like crying last night thinking about this. You watch all these animal videos, and it's so sweet. You're like, you feel so much for that dog. Like, and we do. Humans are even more emotional and just, I don't know what the word is. Just, we're soft, guys. So when you watch one of those animal videos, if you're dealing with a situation, it's even more emotional. So but we have our blockers on that we can't actually accept that, but I don't know, just be loving and be compassionate. Of course, that it doesn't come out a million ways smooth, but if you could feel for an animal, then you could feel for any freaking human being. And some people have given up their human being term, and they should be casted and exiled away. But a true human being deserves a second chance, deserves a helping hand, deserves a warm heart to be there for them. So just be there for someone, man. And when they have a strange encounter, don't freaking laugh at them. Like, I've been there for a lot of people this past year at my comic book store that they never told anybody that story. But I come with them with that fun respect that they feel open-minded, but they know they're not going to be judged, but they know they're going to be accepted, or at least a warm feeling to it. And people have just amazing stories about their families, about things that happen to them. So, just be open-minded, and you will have great things happen to you, and all your needs will be met in abundance. I have a phone full of great Sasquatch photos. All these panels that are like, there's no Sasquatch photos, because you're a prick, because no one wants to send you stuff. Be open-minded, and the floodgates will happen. I have great stories inspiring me and pushing me to get even weirder every single day. Every single day I'm inspired by the smallest things. And I hope I could be somewhat of inspiration to people, at the very minimum, to research the things in their area and to go outside, shake hands, show your face, live how we used to.
Dude, that's a great positive message, and I think that's something that a lot of people need to hear right now, for sure. Hey, one quick thing. We had a donation in our PayPal from Kathy Cook. So we just really want to say thank you for that. Really appreciate your support for the channel. And that's going to go a long way to keeping this thing going, keeping the lights on over here. So
yes, sir. Thank you so much, Kathy. $25 donation. That's our biggest one yet. That is awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. We're still not used to getting stuff like that. So
nope.
Very humbled. That's awesome.
Very,
so
very.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's like you said, Chad. That's very humbling, man. That is so awesome.
Yeah, you see these other bigger channels getting donations left and right, and it's like, I don't know. When we get donations, it's huge. It's a huge deal. Especially watching the orders come in through the merch store. It's just like, holy smokes! I didn't realize this many people were interested. So it's really cool. Thanks a lot, Kathy.
You guys deserve it, though. You guys got a great thing going. You spread a lot of positivity. And sometimes it's the very least someone in the community can do. A lot of people are financially stable during these times. And some people have checks coming in that they're able to help other people out. So don't be scared. I'm not saying to this YouTube, just anybody. Don't be scared to sell your books, to tell people to watch your movies, to ask people to donate, because sometimes that can push people to do great things, you know, and it's very little, but it means so much to you. And I've had a lot of donations come in, and it's bought equipment and paid for trips. And I just have so much respect and gratefulness for this community that, like, literally it drives me to be better, to watch my mouth on here. Like I try to shape myself into the man I'm supposed to be, because now I got people in my corner rooting for me, and it's awesome, you know. But of course I let those haymakers fly sometimes when you have to, because you have to bully the bullies, or else there's good people out there that don't even get to share their stories. I've talked to mothers that are in therapy for their encounter, and then you got, you know, some family members of mine saying Sasquatch doesn't exist, get out of the clouds, Connor. It's a disgrace that some people can feel that way, because right. And then they go to church every Sunday and they're talking about Cain. Well, what about the Book of Mormon? Joseph Smith met Cain. He met Cain in the 1800s, and Cain was covered in hair as tall as him on a horse. So that's where it's like they love this mythological book, but they can't connect with it. I'm all about the real life connections, and that's a perfect segue real quick to the real life connections, guys. Garden of Eden, the Garden of Eden Trail. Yes, this is my first book, Erie Swamps, Road Trip to Eden. Documents my journey from Lake Erie down to the Florida swamps in the Garden of Eden Trail, guys. It's Road Trip to Eden. Eden is a mythological place to many people, but I am here to say that it is a physical place. Right here in Florida, 27 of the 28 trees mentioned in the Bible are at that park. Gopher wood, which Noah used to build the ark, lightest and strongest wood in the world. It's also known as long pine terrea, long leaf terrea. Only place it freaking grows in the whole world is right there. Delta that breaks into 4 rivers, like the good book says. One of 2 places in the world, here in Siberia. And of course, there's so many ancient stories of huge serpent snakes and Sasquatch creatures. Of course, Stacy Brown filmed that 9-foot skunk ape at Torreya State Park, right in the Garden of Eden. Donnie Miller had a face-to-face encounter at the Torreya Challenge, and I've had my handful of encounters at Torreya State Park. So that area is sacred. I'm not saying that is the only Eden. I'm not saying there's only one Atlantis. Earth's biosphere is 10% of what it used to be, guys. There is so much that has been covered up by the mud flood, and so much has been casted away. Who knows? Maybe the ice walls were built to protect us from the outside continents. But there's so much out there, and it's a beautiful thing really tapping into it. And they got us so locked in and mentally stressed that we can tap out and realize that even our DNA, our soul, has magic that goes beyond, you know, parallels and beyond pretty much explanation. It empowers me to get through the day, and I'm still running on that battery charge. And I hope it keeps me going for a long time. Just because this world is definitely getting black and white, and it needs some more color in it, and it needs some inspiration. And I'll gladly be the messenger, you know, waking everybody up, knocking on the doors, you know.
Where can we purchase your book at? Where can we find it at?
Yeah, my book is actually on Amazon. If you search my name,
okay.
Connor Flynn, ConnorFlynn. I have 4 books on there. Erie Swamps, Road Trip to Eden. This one is my diary, guys. This, again, documents my journey from Ohio down to Florida, living out in my car, staying at 24-hour gas stations, couch surfing with random people. I'll say the chapters real quick just so everybody could check out these areas. I know a couple people are in the Ohio area, but it's crazy because I used to drive from Ohio all the way to Panama City, basically this area, as a child for our holidays. And now I realize that it paved my path for the future. But yes, my first book, Erie Swamps, Road Trip to Eden. But then the second one is my research project, guys. Big Brother, Bigfoot. And I forgot to read the chapters real quick. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm all excited. Authors love being asked about their books, guys. You know, we write.
This is great, dude.
30,000 words just for you guys to read a few, you know? That's why people are always like, man, he's pushing his books. You think my mouth gets a lot of data? Like, my fingers have put out a lot more. But the initiation is the first chapter. Fishing with the Lake Erie Monster, crossing the Crybaby Bridge, touching the witch's ball, sneaking into Irma's house, white shoes. Real quick, I just want to talk about white shoes. It was this one little, I guess, apartment complex and a basketball court at the end of it. And there was a fence line that it went pretty much to the end of it. And sometimes the basketball would go by the fence. Well, at the edge of the fence, you would see 2 white shoes. And supposedly they were from a girl that died in a car accident during a drunken car accident, because there's an AA meeting right over there. So she would always visit there and hide behind the fence, watching us play at the playground while her dad was at the meeting, and he could still see her. Well, she ended up dying, and we would always see her white shoes. It was an awesome, crazy story in Brunswick, Ohio. Really sad, of course, about the little girl. Escaping Helltown, camping with the Ohio Grassman, October at the Mansfield Reformatory. Really cool spot, too. Mansfield Reformatory is where they filmed Shawshank Redemption. And it's super dope. I love haunted prisons. The next chapter is surviving Moundsville Prison. That's the one I was talking about with Manson's mom. So it's kind of crazy because Castle Rock, that Stephen King show, is filmed right at Moundsville Prison, but it's based on the Mansfield Prison, Shawshank. It's so crazy that they all connect with Stephen King, and then the TV show Mindhunter is all filmed there. Bunch of cool stuff for pop culture fanatics. Asheville Castles, Silver Moon and the Snowman. The Silver Moon is a drive-in theater in Lakeland. I fell asleep there and had some crazy nightmares, man. Providence Canyon Creatures. That one's a really cool one, too. Shout out Georgia. In Georgia, there's a mini Grand Canyon called the Providence Canyon. Really cool to see. But there's a giant hogzilla, a giant hog boar that got stuck in the canyon, and he just eats everything that he can get his hold of. Wow. It's really cool. And then fishing with the Ocheesee Pond Wild Man. The wild man that was captured right here in the 1800s, guys, his descendants still lurk. One of my friends, he used to work for the radio, and now he's going deaf. So he has a hearing aid that he made himself, and he can change the frequencies, and he can listen to these creatures deep in the forest breathing, and they're really gurgly, and they got a lot of phlegm in their lungs. I need to send them some sea moss. And then the last two chapters is Midnight at the Bellamy Bridge, and then Eden Awaits Us. So it all ends in the Garden of Eden, which is a really cool little cycle of life. One before that, though, is the Bellamy Bridge. Really haunted bridge right here in the Panhandle of Florida. Wife Elizabeth Bellamy died on her wedding day. She was in her dress. She leaned against a candle. She caught on fire really bad. She ran, jumped into the water. She ended up dying, telling her husband, "I'll forever be with you." Homeboy killed himself, sadly. The baby ended up passing away right after. All their ghosts are, in that area. And then there's been skunk ape sightings, too. We got lost the first night out there, saw 2 moons, had weird things yelling at us. One of the scariest moments of my life. I thought I was going to have to spend the night out there all night, and it was terrifying. It was raining. I was with 2 military veterans that I was leading the way. I don't know why. It was a crazy thing. But that is my first book, Eerie Swamps, Road Trip to Eden. And like I said, it's my diary. This one is my research project, Big Brother Bigfoot, ranging from Canada down to Florida, Ohio to Mississippi, Louisiana to Arizona, and of course, California's got the Big Bear Beast. But I've researched all these crazy humanoid creatures that might be our closest ancestors. The chapters are Ohio Grassman, Youlegany Yowie, Washington Wild Thing, Clear Lake Creature in Canada, Susquehanna Seal, Tennessee Titans, Florida Skunk Ape, Ocheesee Pond Wild Man, Honey Island Swamp Monster, DeSoto Demons, Pascagoula Prowlers, made me poop, Texas Wood Boogers, Desert Apes, Mogollon Monster, Mojave Sandman, the Big Bear Beast, and then Around the World. So the Yowie, the Yaren, Kushtaka, all the other stories that are out there. There used to be the story of the Vanara people. Vana meaning earth, and then Nara meaning people. So the earth people and the monkey people. And they used to give the humans Sheilahite, which was hot, purified water. And we drink this water and become spiritual gurus. So I think it's very exciting thinking that maybe the Native Americans learned their medicine and their mysticism and their spirituality from the mound builders, the giants that they used to live with and coincide with and trade with before. But yeah, those two books are very passionate and close to my heart. Trying to find my third one, Monsters and Mysteries Around the Corner. This talks about how we don't have to watch scary movies. We don't have to read my books to get scared. Monsters and Mysteries will find you. I've had things tap on this trailer right here after Hurricane Michael. Sorry. After Hurricane Michael, something banged on this side of the trailer like 3 multiple nights. And my sister, her boyfriend, and I heard about it. The cats were stirred up. Really crazy stuff. My good friend, Flat Rock Booger, Alabama, Evergreen, Alabama, the town that loved Bigfoot. It's a documentary about it. They actually reached out to my buddy Kenny, but he just wasn't interested in being part of their production. But he has a bunch of security cameras on his property, and he has recorded these creatures walking on his porch, banging on his walls, even opening up his door and sticking its head in his house. And then they ran into the forest, and it was like, whoo, whoo, whoo. Like it just got away with something. It's really crazy.
Wow.
The footage of it going on the porch, you could see a shadow and you could hear it. And I uploaded it on TikTok, and it got 1.5 million views in the last week. So, oh man, I'm flexing on that. That's my first million view video for Christmas. It was very cool.
Million views, dude.
Million
That's
views.
nuts.
That's 7 figures. And every day it's getting 100,000. So that many people are pouring in and checking out all the other stuff. I've had a lot of success on TikTok. I have 33.3 thousand followers right now. So every time I go live, it comes in the huge loads. Like I'm live right now and we have 1,000 likes. So it's crazy. I can't wait to see how many people watch. But my last two
really cool.
likes had 4,000 viewers each. So anybody could say what they want about Connor being a loudmouth, freaking whatever. But I'm bringing hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people awareness about Sasquatch. But I can also see them saying, well, why not tell them our information? You know, everybody wants to gatekeep and be like, oh, Sasquatch is this, Sasquatch is that. I'm just saying Sasquatch exists. Prepare yourself for everything. There's 3-toed ones in the Honey Island Swamp. There's 4-toed ones down in Florida. And there's 6-toed ones that link to the Nephilim. And our footprint that we actually took in Myakka recently, bear footprint, it made its rounds. Stacy Brown held a camp out in Myakka. And Myakka, guys, the Mecca for skunk ape. If you search the Florida skunk ape pictures, the 2 pictures that were sent anonymously to the Sarasota Police Department, they were taken in Myakka. And that creature looks more of like a monkey or an ape than, say, Patty from Bluff Creek, more like a female human hybrid. So it is interesting seeing the variances between these creatures. They're not all the same. They're not all monkey men. They're not all human hybrids. And then it gets into, are they Mothman? Are they Loveland Frogmen? Is there reptilians holding it all? It gets really weird, of course. But I had so many strange encounters in Myakka because Squatch in South Florida, he was here a little earlier. He recorded from his tent when we were sleeping. His tent was right next to mine. Something was walking outside of our tent. Something knocked 3 times. Something was throwing acorns at us and making some kind of samurai chatter. And this is all recorded. So that was just monumental. We recorded something on thermal imaging up in a tree. Could have been a panther. Could have been a skunk ape horizontally watching fishermen. I really don't know. But we had a lot of strange stuff happen. A couple UFO encounters that weekend as well for some other group members. But one guy inverted our footprint, and he said it had 6 toes. So I just think that's interesting because a lot of the mound building and the sun worshipers, they had 6 toes, and they had horns, and they were giants. So it's really weird how it starts to intertwine with history stuff that I have found and uncovered from 300 years ago, but then we're taking pictures of it in November.
Yeah. Oh, man. You're getting a lot of love in the chat, man. I'm sure you know that already, but everyone's digging you for sure. This is a really cool conversation.
Well, I definitely appreciate it. I hope everybody's morning is magical. I hope everybody's day is super dope after this too. I hope I can be your guys' little shot of expression or shot of espresso. Yeah, or cold brew or whatever you're sipping on this morning. I definitely need some mushroom tea because we're going hiking. I'm going hiking with my buddy Jack McClellan, who is a filmmaker, and then I'm hopefully linking up with Donnie Miller, the guy who was abducted by the alien with the beacon in his arm. But real quick, while I'm talking about my buddy Jack McClellan, everything I believe it's all designed. This is the grand path of life, guys. You really just have to walk your walk. We're not set in fate. We could change our destiny, but it is kind of calculated for us for the best, but sometimes we can impress the creator with what we can stir up. But I moved all the way from Ohio and lived out in my car, stayed with a punk rock musical band, slept on a couch for 8 months, freaking broke my collarbone again, lived with madmen, lived with crazy people. I was really pushed to the limits. And once I moved back to the Panhandle, once my mom moved down here, I moved down the street from her. Now I was 10 minutes away from the Ocheesee Pond, right across the river from Torreya State Park, right down the street from Stacy Brown, right across the corner from Donnie Miller. All these inspirational people in this paranormal realm were right here in my backyard. So I feel like this area has gravitated me. And me visiting my aunt in Panama City as a child kind of paved the way for all of this. So now I'm just really catching up with what has been laid out to me, and I'm reaping all the benefits. I have Gemma Jade, my old wife from the past life, showing up in this one, giving oracle readings. And then we have great people like Cassie and Sweet Morbidly Bear, just showing that love and being there. And it goes so much deeper than that when we can share knowledge and, of course, camp out together. Like, this community is a real life thing, and it is beneficial, and it is also just so healing for everybody involved. And I just take so much pride in, being a part of it and being a loudmouth spirit in it, man. I hope everybody can feel confident getting behind me in any march that I'm leading. This future is closing in on us, and it's shutting down people that want to be themselves. So do not give in. Never throw in the towel. Be that loudmouth in the room. Be the center of attention, because it will be remembered. Don't be desperate. Don't be thirsty, but step up to the plate when it's time to step up to the plate. Because a lot of people miss opportunities, and then you regret that. Then that eats you up. I was being eaten alive, not being able to play guitar. Taught myself guitar, able to breathe again. Just free yourself from those demons, from those things just weighing you down. The battle is within, first and foremost, and it starts every freaking morning with me. And, I've battled so much depression. My sister has been an addict for the last, decade, and in and out of rehab, overdosed multiple times. My house has been broken into. I've been slammed on my face by police for her. A lot of things have went sideways, but I've always just tried to keep moving forward. And I never understood that great things were on the horizon when I was in Ohio. And now look, all the great things that have happened. And just think of all the good things that happen when you pop that bubble of comfort, when you stay just sitting down. And it all just goes back to just the benefits. All your needs will be met in abundance. I moved down here to Panhandle, Florida. I'm working at a comic book shop after the bowling alley got destroyed, after the natural disaster. And I worked at Ace Hardware. They booted me out because I, had too long a hair. Ended up falling gracefully at the comic book store. I met all the right people there. But the first and foremost was Jack McClellan. He is a horror movie filmmaker, and he also had a Dogman encounter a couple years ago. He's good friends with the Bridges family, Carolyn Bridges, who was like the main emphasis on a lot of Finding Bigfoot episodes. So right here, again, I found exactly where I needed to find. But he has big things planned for the future and these past few years. But he reached out to me and asked me to be in this movie called Zillifoot, half Godzilla, half Bigfoot. And it is a crazy movie. It's a cult classic. It is on it's on shelves now at Walmart, Best Buy, and FYE. It did so well online that it got a widespread release. But if you can find it online for free, definitely do it. I'm all about, streaming the movies. I don't get anything from this movie selling. Walmart ain't cutting me a check. So I know nobody in this chat, but other people are like, he's just trying to sell his movie. well, MFer, I ain't getting nothing from it. I'm happy. I'm just happy to be in it, guys. Zillifoot, so bad it's good. It is a cult classic. But I play a cryptid research officer, basically myself, and I go into a military bunker. I warn them of impending doom, alien invasion, and they summoned a Zillifoot, half Godzilla, half Bigfoot, giant beast. And of course, I come with all the answers and the data, and they're like, "You're probably right, but you got to get out of here. You're freaking us out." So it's really funny, and I'm really proud of it. And our scenes were amazing. And the director, Jack McClellan, it's like a hodgepodge film because it was being made by multiple directors, and it got put together. Well, the sequel, they were most impressed with our shots and our scenes. Yes, Zillifoot, available on Amazon. Baby.
Go get your guys some Zillifoot. It's not even that expensive. Go get you some.
But it's like $14 at Walmart too. But I'll sign your copy if you guys ever meet me at a conference. But it was really cool because it was a combination of a bunch of kaiju films, and SRS Cinema, they have the rights and the patents to these movies going back to the 80s. So at the beginning of the movie, they have a bunch of clips from other monster movies. So me, like the Easter egg king, I'm like, oh man, I'm in this movie. I'm in connected with all this. So I'm in the kaiju movie genre now, you know. So if I'm ever walking in Asia, they'll probably be like, Connor! It was just wild. But I'm very proud of it. But that was like a hodgepodge film. But the sequel is supposed to be directed by my buddy Jack McClellan, following our three characters. So, of course, my character is going to be the main emphasis. But the main thing I'm super proud of, guys, is the Void Cat. This just got made a couple months ago, and it's already doing very well at film festivals. We've got listed as a finalist in 3 different festivals, and we got an ovation in a live festival when we went to the horror con in Tallahassee. It was amazing seeing a live audience watching my movie. And I went to film school, you know, at Bowling Green, so we've had our movies show up on, you know, the big screen, but this is more my alley. This is the paranormal and cryptid realm, and it's an awesome short film. It's me and my friend Nick, and I play Connor, but Conner. So it's not the OR. You can't blame this guy. It's a little bit different. But I find a strange relic in the Haven Woods, and then it summons me. It curses me. And the Void Cat is a mixture between Dogman and the Splinter Cat creature. And I'm a wild man researcher in it. And like I said, the day we found this is that we were scouting for the film. So it's really crazy that we had some kind of strange anomalies happen, but that wasn't the only one. Where we were filming was right by the Bridges house, right where they filmed Finding Bigfoot. Well, Jack forgot some gear or something, and I took Ethan, who's a former SWAT team member. He's the sound guy, so he had all the equipment out there. And I was like, "Hey, let's go explore real quick." So we go back in the woods, and we find this like hidden pond and lake. It was very cool. And then we see this gardener, and I'm like, "Hey, man, let's go talk to him." And he says, "There's something strange in these woods." And he was really creeped out, and he was pretty much playing to all the theories. And then I turned the camera off, of course, and we're exchanging information. And then, boom, a tree comes crashing down right from the wood line. And Ethan's like, "Dude, are you the only one working back here?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm alone, just me and my dog." And Ethan was so creeped out, and he's been a Bigfoot, you know, enthusiast ever since. So even on the freaking set of Void Cat, we had 2 possible Bigfoot encounters. So again, just keep your blinders down and your eyes open, you know, because they're always in every direction. But Void Cat, I'm so proud of. It is a cult classic too. It's doing really well. It was just in a video carnival. It was like a weird sex festival thing, and I'm like, yeah, we should have won that. But I have really big plans for 2022. We are already planning a sequel and a prequel, and then his other movie, Lost and Found, is in the same universe. So it all connects. We're also making a documentary about Bigfoot and the Florida skunk ape. And then I also just made a scene with him for a Mothman documentary with Asher from Ohio. So shout out to the Buckeye Pride up there.
Awesome. Yeah, man. That's got to be really insane to see your work up on a huge screen like that and then having everybody react to it and love it. That's really cool.
It's trippy. It's definitely hilarious.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it. My mom watched it, and she was like, "What are you doing, Connor?" And then a bunch of
what is this?
They're like, "You were high." I'm like, "I'm always high."
I'm always high, Ma.
Yeah.
Hey, to bring that in there too, Spooky had a question quite a ways back, but I wanted to save it. And he says, "What would Connor most like to see happen in 2022?"
Defund NASA. Give the money back to the taxpayers. They're stealing billions of dollars basically every day. No, I just want to see peace, love. I want to see the establishment fall and the community rise. I definitely want to see big things for the Bigfoot world. A lot of people are running on a treadmill, chasing their tail, saying, "Oh, there's no DNA. We need better pictures. We need new tech." Like, no, guys, there is great people making great insights. Janice Carter grew up with Sasquatch. Long Island Bigfoot has been handed fruit by their hand. My buddy Tyler Kennedy has found their twist-offs and been touched by Sasquatch. Bigfoot Dave down here in Florida has been lifted up in his tent. So there are magnificent stories out there. So I just hope more awareness and more knowledge gets spread. More love and positivity. I hope everybody's channels get to all their goals and trademarks that they need to reach. I definitely look forward to putting out all the 4 books, and the 4th book is Panhandle Pirates too. That's my most recent one. That's all the treasure and stuff that we've been going after in the local area. And of course, we got to battle the Kraken like a true pirate. But those 4 books are actually going to be put out by Beyond the Fray Publishing. Shout out Beyond the Fray, Gemma Jade, Steve Stockton, Kenny the Punk Cryptozoologist. It's an awesome publication ran by Into the Fray, Jeff, and they just have great things going on over there, and they're so open-minded that they keep pushing forward. And Shannon LeGros is a huge inspiration. She was in some UFO documentaries, and she was questioning me about psychedelics, where most people are like, "Oh, I don't want to talk about LSD and DMT and Hawaiian baby wood rose seeds and mescaline and all the other good stuff that we get into." But I'm really looking forward to putting out the books. The Bigfoot Odyssey 168, that's going to be in March. It is an expedition and a documentary, and they picked some of the finest Bigfoot researchers in the world. And of course, you can't do a Florida Bigfoot documentary without your boy. I've been to the Everglades, Myakka, Terrarea, the Green Swamp, the Blackwater Forest. I've been all around and lived at some of these spots. So I feel like I'm going to bring my fun energy to it. But it's 168 hours straight in the swamp. So hopefully I don't come on with the West Nile virus or piss off any of the investigators and they end up taking me to the Cherokee swamps. But I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be an awesome expedition. They got like $50,000 of camera gear. So we're going to be wearing all this high-tech stuff. And then when we come back to camp, we give it back to a team, and then they download it all. And then the next morning, they give us all back the gear. So I'm super pumped about that. January, right around the corner. January 22nd, the Great Florida Bigfoot Conference. It's the biggest conference in Florida, and I'm going to be speaking at the Skunk Ape Roundtable. Lyle Blackburn, Maria Mayor is going to be there, Lauren Coleman, and then Marie DeMott, Stacy Brown, Robert Robinson, RPG from Expedition Bigfoot, and then David Sidoti. So we're all going to be sharing our vibes, and there's going to be hundreds of people there. Definitely come get a picture, buy a book, come pick up this cast, just don't drop it, and definitely come camp and hike with us in the Green Swamp that night and the next morning. And I'm really looking forward to the expedition that unfolds there. Last year, we had crazy stuff happen. We found 5 footprints, tons of tree structures. Tim T actually recorded one off his back cam, and it is one of the most impressive images that I've seen of Sasquatch. He thinks there was about 8 or 9 of them in the area following us. Tristan Smith saw one out of the corner of his eye live. Florida Lone Wolf had one growl at him. One lady, Mary Ann, she was attacked by bees and stung more than 30 times, and she had to be ran out of there and almost sent to the hospital. We found a hawk with a broken neck, and then tons of other just strange anomalies, like weird portal openings. But the Green Swamp is filled with tons of crazy treasure, escaped convicts, and that's where the ley lines converge because it goes right into the Bermuda Triangle. But I'm just really looking forward to, stirring stuff up at the conference and then, really taking my tactics to the swamp right after that night, and nothing better than in real life. And I'm glad the Great Florida Bigfoot Conference reached out to me, because that's a great opportunity. But again, I don't want to put myself on a high horse, but Florida Bigfoot, like me, Stacy Brown, and Dave Sheely, and Mark Zaski. And if you don't have us on your roster, then you better start recruiting.
Hell yeah. Oh man, I just have to bring this up, dude. We're very humbled right now, but we got another donation in our PayPal account from Sandy for $30. And
thank you so much, Sandy.
Thank you so much, Sandy. That's awesome. It's going to take a minute to get used to this, but it's really cool. It's amazing.
Yes, it is very amazing. I never even expected it, man.
Me neither.
Yeah, and Cassie's the one that helped us out with all this, and I would have never even. Yeah, I wouldn't even.
We wouldn't be talking to Connor right now without Cassie.
No.
Beyond the oracles, man. She definitely has some answers.
Thank you again, Kathy. Both of you guys, thank you so much.
Kathy and Sandy both. You guys are awesome. Keeping the lights on over here. We're doing more than keeping the lights on over here. That's amazing. Thank you guys so much.
I saw that Gemma asked a question about channeling a Bigfoot. I didn't see that exact situation, but I have definitely talked to remote viewers and people that are very clairvoyant. Sorry, I've talked myself dry,
I was wondering how long I was wondering, man.
I'm out of my water. But no, a lot of people have communicated with Sasquatch through different variances, and I am very interested in that. But the very interesting thing about communicating with Sasquatch, Igor Burtsev. He was on stage at the Nebraska Bigfoot Conference, where a Russian scientist who lives with Sasquatch actually called Dr. Igor and played it on speakerphone and had a Sasquatch talk to him through the phone. So again, people think like disappearing Sasquatch is weird. Sasquatch makes phone calls, guys. Like, expand your mind in every direction. I'm sure Sasquatch has driven boats and cars, and I know they hop on trains and ride before too. So anything a human can do, they can do better, guys.
So do you subscribe to the idea too of Sasquatch coming out of orbs too?
Definitely. Them becoming orbs, them giving off orbs. Orbs and Sasquatch are 100% related. We've seen orbs in my ACA, and then also in my pictures where I feel like I've had Sasquatch with me. I've seen orbs, and again, it's been described as when they enter portals that it creates so much energy that when they burst into back to our realm, that's how it deals with the balance. It just shoots orbs in every direction. Then they just exist in this realm. So that's very interesting to think that maybe it's portals opening and those balls and those bubbles are just soaring through our realm. But really, we are just one big orb, really, because we're a snow globe, So in a way, we're that orb.
Speaking of portals, have you ever heard of the Stairways? Just a stairway out in the woods somewhere that if you go up it takes you to a portal.
Yes. I've actually just talked to Caucasian Sasquatch, and him and his dad saw a staircase in the middle of the woods, and his dad would refuse to look at it and totally turned him around and got him out of there. So his dad was onto it. We actually found a mysterious staircase recently in Chattahoochee, and we were onto something, but I think it's even more mysterious than portals. It might have been the Fountain of Youth, guys. There is a spring at the Chattahoochee that it is on a hillside, and there's actually an ancient pool built in there, and it uses the spring and the natural flow, and it's right next to the Native American mounds, and it's just so sacred. And of course, Ponce de Leon was here in Florida searching for the Fountain of Youth, and it might be under the surface a little now, but it's close to the aquifer. It's very beautiful.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I've heard people talk about that. I've never seen anything like that yet. I'm out in the mountains a lot when I hunt. I've never came across the stairwell yet. But, I think I'd climb it. I think I'd go up it.
Yeah, I go out in the woods a lot when I'm four-wheeling and riding snowmobiles and stuff. But I've never seen... We're not talking to you, Google. We're not talking to you. Yeah, I've never seen anything like that out in the woods.
Would you
Hey,
climb
Google,
it?
stop, dude.
And just real
He's
quick,
getting
I want
unplugged.
to
He's getting
clarify.
unplugged.
I've never spoke to what Siri or what's the other girl's name in the phone in people's
Alexa.
houses? Alexa.
Yeah.
I've never spoke to Siri or Alexa. Cleanse yourself, guys. For real. Get rid of your microwave. I don't have a microwave
My
either.
microwave.
I haven't
wake up
knowingly
in the
had
morning,
microwave
Connor,
food in like 6
I
years.
got it. When I wake up in the morning, all I do is say, Alexa, turn on the coffee. It makes my coffee and everything, dude.
Turn on the coffee maker. Okay.
Yep.
She's like, yeah, I'm making a concoction for him.
I got you your coffee this morning, Sonny.
Yeah.
But I haven't had microwave food knowingly in like 6 years, and look how normal I am. You know, don't you guys want to be like me? You know,
It's proven itself right here on the podcast.
I don't like microwave food either.
Oh, it's bad. If you microwave water and pour it on a plant, you'll just see what happens. And we are all water, guys. If you're positive to water, it thrives. If you're negative, it gets moldy. And microwaves are just so bad energy, and it just kills everything that goes in it. And of course, all fast food is run through the microwave. So try to break free, guys. And of course, we cannot dodge every one of their poisons, but try to at least be thankful for your meals. That's provide that energy, and that will protect you a little bit.
I've never thought about that aspect before, like if you boiled water in the microwave and then poured it on a plant. That's never thought about that before. That's pretty cool.
There's experiments about it, and of course, don't do it when it's hot, just like it's been through the microwave. But that plant fails so bad.
In there. That's how I feel about it too. When if you were to heat up vegetables in there, your broccoli or whatever, I think it kills some of your nutrients and your iron and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's cooking it from the inside out. It's just not right. It's not. Right. We cook everything from the outside in with flame, and yeah.
And all the chemicals in our water, it is a catalyst that brings out all the worst things. I had my EMF detector over by my neighbor's microwave, and I'm like, I'm not going near this thing. It's ringing off more than a Sasquatch structure.
Yeah,
I know. When I was a kid, they used to say, when you put your food in the microwave, don't stand directly in front of it.
Right, and you're like,
so why? I was like, okay, you don't want me to stand near this thing while it's cooking the food, but you want me to eat the food that it cooked? That's how my mind thought. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to eat that shit. I don't see how we're not supposed to stand in front of it, but it's okay to eat the stuff that comes out of it.
It's dangerous.
Yep.
Yeah.
Our TV screens are dangerous. Our phone screens are dangerous. We can have the blue light on our glasses, but it's not going to protect us all. We definitely have to cleanse, and that's where meditation can just maybe get you away from that static a little bit. And being barefoot and walking barefoot, earthing, grounding, shoes, rubber. It's a conspiracy. It's to get us away from the electricity of Earth. So go barefoot when you can.
I live in the valley, and when I get in the mountains, I feel like I'm at home. I don't ever feel right, actually, until I am in the mountains away from everyone else. That's where I feel most at home at.
That's your instinct right there.
Experiences like me being by myself. I've done something stupid before. Okay, I killed a rattlesnake because it attacked me. For no reason, the snake attacked me, so I killed it. I cut his head off, and I left his head 2 miles away from where I brought it back to skin it and eat it. I ate part of it. But when I nailed it to the tree, what I did was I nailed the snake to a tree, and his head's two miles away at least. Okay, and it's a big snake, though, a big rattlesnake. And I backed my truck up to the tree and lowered the tailgate. I put my knives out so I could skin this thing right and not mess it up. As I go to make the first cut, the bottom of this snake's tail comes up and just starts rattling. So I dropped my knife and turned to run. And when I turned around and run, remember, the truck is right behind me. It's backed up right to me with the tailgate down. I was like, oh, shit. I dropped it and ran straight into the tailgate and just pulled it over into the truck.
Oh.
And then I stood up, and I was looking around because it felt like somebody was watching me. I was 100% for sure someone just seen that. And for like a good 5 minutes, probably, I took looking around like, dude, I'm just waiting for someone to jump out laughing at me right now for what I just did. And that was the only time after I went to bed that night, I was thinking about it, and I was like, oh, that was a Bigfoot watching me. That's why I felt, and I couldn't see him, but that was the first time I had ever had that feeling of any kind of Bigfoot experience or whatever, because they're supposed to be where I hunt. It's where Bigfoot lives. I hunt in a place called Wishon. They have Wishon Store Village up there, or Wishon Village Store, and they have a bunch of Bigfoot stuff. Just all their stuff is Bigfoot lives here. They put a big sign out in those woods. It's a cutout copy of Bigfoot, just a big dark sign. I have a picture of it somewhere, but yeah, they hide that thing out there.
That tail rattle. You know, he very well could have made that situation happen. I know, of course, nerves that could have happened.
Hadn't moved for 15 minutes. That thing didn't move till I stuck that knife in there, and it was nailed to the tree. When I nailed it to the tree, it wasn't moving, and stuck that knife in there. It raised up the tree and just. Bzzz.
Yep. I think the Sasquatch either made that happen or it was some kind of other elemental in the forest that literally was just loving to observe you freak out right there.
Oh, man.
When you said you turned and ran and then hit something hard, it brought back a memory of me, and some people have definitely heard this story. One time back home in Ohio, I was supposed to have a girl sleep over, but my mom was home. So I was having her park in the neighborhood behind us, right by the woods. So she wouldn't park in my driveway. I wouldn't get caught, of course. And I was back there waiting for her for like 25 minutes. She was super late. I was like cussing up a storm, you know, all mad. I just wanted to, you know, get it on, of course. And she's jocking my style. And so then after a second, something bluff charges me hard with momentum.
Damn, son.
Oh, wow.
Go ahead and solo screen it, Chad. I got it.
Oh, all right.
And to get that tail to rattle, that's not just like a small snake. Like, oh, it could get like that's. It takes a lot of power to get through that whole being right there to make that thing move. That's wild.
This is how big it was. I don't know if you guys can see this one. That's my truck. It's the length of the bed almost.
Dang, yeah.
Oh, dude, this thing was gonna eat me. It was very mad. I've never had a rattlesnake chase me before, guys. It chased me a ways because I went in a circle and it just kept coming. And I finally made it back to the truck and got my shovel. And yeah,
that was the end of him.
Lost. And I got pretty wide hands. You can see this is that snake before I skinned it. He's as wide as my.
That's
yeah.
A Western.
That's what made me run into the truck. You seen the truck parked right there. Okay, that's where it was when I turned and ran into the tailgate. I fell into the truck. It was embarrassing. And then when I got up and I knew, you know, when something is watching you. Yeah, I do. I get that feeling, you know, and I had that feeling so strong, man, and just nothing was there. No movement, no deer, no nothing, no squirrels. I didn't see anything. But it just felt like something was watching me do that.
It was the hairy man, 100%. Just to tap back into that story. So something bluff charged me, and I was so scared. I turned and ran just like Sonny did, but I made it more steps to create more momentum, and I was beelining it straight to my back door. And I'm running through my neighbor's garden, and I hit one of their garden stakes, and it breaks my collarbone, and it goes right through my face, like through my lip. So I was bleeding, gushing blood, and I bounce off. It was probably 8 years ago now, like 2012, 2013 era.
Metal stake?
No, I don't know what it was. It was dark, and it could have been it could have been anything. But something bluff charged me hard out of the forest, and it was pitch black, so I was just running, and I hit that garden stake, and I bounce off of it, and I just keep going, and she ends up calling me soon after, and I like cuss her out, and I'm all mad, never talk to her again. But I had to be in a sling, and my whole face was messed up for a while. And my parents like thought I was drunk, and I was like, no, something was chasing me back there, and no one believed me, of course. But then we had other backyard encounters. I had one when we were doing a blood moon eclipse. We were making some potions, me and my buddy Jake. We were laying there enjoying like 2001 Space Odyssey literally come to life in the sky above us. And we were with my cats, and we felt something walk on the other side of my barn. And we first thought it was my cats, and then we thought it was like a deer. So then we get up and we're starting to look, and we have like sticks, and then something just hits us with a force, and we internally surrender and just turn back around. And we had no visual what it was, but we definitely think it was a Sasquatch coming out of the woods and seeing our brains because we took some psychedelics. So our electricity was different in our mind. And I feel like they could see that kind of like Predator. And of course, the Native Americans, back when they would be around the fire, they would use these tinctures to see the other side, and maybe they were just interested in it. But then another time, I was driving home from work across the street, so right where that creature would have came from, and it was right where Prospect hits Boston Road, and there's a big patch of woods, and it was after midnight when I was coming home from family video, and this was probably my clearest cryptid sighting because it was in the lights. You know, I feel like I was expecting it, and maybe it even sent a wave out to me. But I saw a translucent creature, kind of like a rake, kind of like the Shimmer Man, take 2 steps on the road and then dash into the forest. And it was just so spellbinding and mind-blowing because it was going in the direction of my home. So that would always stay close to me because after that moment, we always were looking over our shoulders. Not we were always before, but now we had a physical being that we were looking out for. And then when I moved to Florida, became a writer. I was always like a high school sports reporter and stuff. But once I started writing books, I reached out to this guy named Lauren Richards. He actually grew up right across the street from me, and he was an author. My mom used to babysit him, and I was just asking him about cool paranormal stories. And he told me about a being that he used to see in those woods that matched up with that. And then that there was a witch's stone in those woods, which familiar with the witch's ball, but this was a witch's stone. And I'm guessing it was probably the size of your hand or something. But those woods were cursed. We had tons of strange, weird feelings. I had a couple animals go missing, but I just try to remain positive and fight through it. Recently, in last April, my cat, Baby, we had her for like 12 years, Ohio. She lived in Indiana with my mom. She would stand with my mom when she was shooting. She'd go fishing with me out on the little the raft thing, wooden raft thing. She got eaten alive by some type of creature and ripped apart last April. And that kind of like set me down definitely a depression cycle, but also just me questioning all my research and tactics and fun energy for this. I'm like, did I just manifest a dog man come into my property and, killing my animal to set me straight? Did I say the wrong things? I don't know, coincidence is the only thing that never exists, of course. So I don't know. It's just a thing. You just have to keep on forward. I know she would want me to honor her to find out all the strange things in the forest. But and then we had another kitten go missing. And now when I go hiking back there by my mom's house, I always call out to Sasquatch to the forest to maybe bring the little one home. So sometimes I'm begging and pleading to these creatures for insight and real life help. So it's healing in many different forms. But also at Torreya, when I'm hiking alone, I'm definitely looking over my shoulder because I've read too many missing 411 cases that have got me ready for all this. But you just have to keep on forward, and every situation is its own situation. But if you approach it with positivity and manifestation and being ready for it and standing strong where you are, you won't be manipulated, at least.
Right. Sonny, did you have one more thing?
Oh, I was just going to say, you talk about the dog man and the wolf man, and you thought you seen a wolf. You have a buddy that can turn into a white wolf. My daughter, where I live in the country here in California. Okay, we have country here. I'm a country boy. And there's no houses very close to us at all. But there's one house right next door to mine, touches my property. It's my daughter's house. Okay, so she lives there. I live here. She called me one morning and said, or not morning, night. It was late at night. She called. We were still up, though. Me and my wife were in our room. And she said, there's a guy standing across the street from my house, from my driveway, and he's looking at your house. And she said, he looks creepy, Dad. He looks like a Mexican guy, but he's pale white. She said, and she thought he was some drug addict standing out there looking at my house. He's going to come try to take one of my cars or something, or my truck. And so she called and told me, and I said, all right. So within 30 seconds of the call, I am at least out front. Within 45 seconds, I'm standing where she said he was. Okay. And so there's no one out there, no one at all. He's on one side he's on the south side of the street. I'm on the north side of the street where our property is. So what I did was, my wife is out there too. and she's standing about, now that I'm turned around facing my houses, she's on my right, and she's like maybe 15, 20 feet from me. She's off the road too in the dirt. I stepped onto the road and I turned to face our houses, and I had my gun and my flashlight, and I shut the flashlight off. That way, because there's a almond orchard to my back now, and I know the guy ran in that almond orchard, and I can't see him because he's hiding behind one of the trees or something. So I'll hear him though, because I'm a hunter. And so I turn around and I turn it off, I turn everything off and make it pitch dark. So he's seeing what I'm seeing, nothing. And I know he's going to take off running. And I finally hear the footsteps, and I'm thinking, oh, you fucker, you know, like, I got you now. So I'm standing there, and then it dawns on me that those footsteps are getting closer. They're not running away from me. This dude's running straight at me to my back. He's running right up behind me. I remember I live in Fresno in the valley. Okay. We don't have no animals here, no rattlesnakes, no nothing. So I turn around as soon as those feet hit the street. I turn around with my light, and my gun has a laser on it, and I put the light and the laser on this thing, and it is a big, huge black wolf. Okay, and it's running west. As soon as, well, it's coming right at me. It's coming to the south, and then when I shine the light at it and it hits the street, it stops and turns and starts running parallel with me, running the opposite way. It didn't run back, it ran sideways. I kept the light on it, and my wife, she don't even like dogs. So when she seen this, she was like, holy shit. So she just froze. And I never took the laser off of it. And as a hunter, I said it out loud to my wife, I'm going to shoot it. I want to shoot this wolf, you know? And she said, yeah, shoot it. And then I moved the laser from its body to its head. And then I still have the light in one hand. And I pulled the gun down and the laser off of it and kept the light on it. And I told her, I can't shoot it. So I can't shoot it. It's so beautiful. I want that hide, but it's so big and beautiful. I can't kill it. I can't shoot it, you know, and it crossed the street and it came back to the side we're on, but it went out in the opposite orchard on my side of the house. I watched it go into the orchard. It's pitch black outside, and that thing is no white on it at all. It's all black wolf, and it disappears into the dark. I go back in the house. Okay. We lay back down. I set my gun down. I just fall asleep, and I have a spirit guide. His name's Keanuk. And as soon as I fell asleep, he popped into my, whatever it is, it's like a dream type thing, but he pops into my mind and says, all he says is, he shakes his head and he goes, skinwalker. And I just sat straight up in bed, dude, and I was so scared I couldn't go back to sleep that night. After I seen the wolf, we went back in the house talking about the wolf. We never once thought about the guy I went out there to look for. He was totally just out of my thought process. I was so amazed by this wolf I just seen. Never put two and two together that maybe this wolf belonged to that guy. What I thought is I had seen a wolf that escaped from a neighbor's property. That would be one way there could be a wolf here. But I don't know I don't know where that wolf came from. I just know that guy. I never seen him again, and you know I never seen him at all. Actually, my daughter's the one that seen him, so I never got to see him at all.
That's cool.
But that wolf totally took that dude out of my mind until I fell asleep. And my spirit guide, I guess his name's Keanuk. It's weird, guys. If you have one of those, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, try to figure it out. Open your mind, like Connor's telling you guys.
And that says I'd go back in the house, grab my 22 and my Bible.
Oh,
Dude, that's one of the best stories I've ever heard. It kept getting better and better, and it had many layers to it. You know, your daughter's seen it, your wife's seen it, you heard it approaching, different forms. It was manipulating the different sides of the street. That's wild. Keanu, you know, said skinwalker. I was thinking skinwalker right before you said it. That is so wild, man. I've had a couple reports here.
I'm a hunter. I don't have a problem with killing stuff. It's usually something I'm going to eat. I will say that. But to have that hide, that would have been a very cool trophy. A black wolf in Fresno, California? Come on, man. That don't exist.
And shout out to Fresno too, because the Fresno night crawlers. That's what I was going to joke with you. Like, oh, maybe it was some pants, but no, this was more than that. And I want to say shout out to Gypsy Road. He's one of my good friends in this world, and I help co-host on his podcast from time to time, and we have a show on horror talk that we talk about scary movies and urban legends. Well, he grew up in Fresno too, so he right around your area, and now he lives in Seattle, which has its own Mount Rainier crazy stories and Seattle Supersonics. But it's really cool that all the Fresno boys, and I'm a big Paul George guy.
It's right by where he lives now. If he's in Seattle, I moved to Olympia when I was younger, and then back when I was a teenager, I moved to Olympia for a year, and then came back to Fresno. That's right by him. Oh, he went to Kerman. Yeah, I'm 45 minutes from Kerman. That's where our drag race is, real close to there.
Oh, that's cool. Small world, man.
Our drag races are in Mendota. He knows where that is.
I interviewed a Native American that he saw a dog man shaped from 7 feet up to 30 feet taller than the telephone pole. So I think that is a skinwalker too. So of course, a lot of people think skinwalkers are only out west, west of Skinwalker Ranch or something. But no, they are everywhere, guys. The Wendigo, the skinwalker. There's many different takes on it in all different traditions and oral histories. And there's new movies called Lamb that is about the goat man, and then Antlers that is about the Wendigo. And I also recommend the movie called The Ritual on Netflix. That kind of has the Wendigo vibe too. But there is so much, out there, vampires, werewolves, Bigfoot, Spearfinger, Hat Man. My mom actually had a Hat Man encounter a couple weeks ago, and I recorded her talking about it. I'm really excited to share that. My family over at Creepy Unsolved, Dylan, Sabrina, and Lauren, Midnight in Mountains, they all love Hat Man, and I'm always stirring them up. Steve Stockton, we were talking about you earlier, brother. Good to see you, man. But the Hat Man comes in many different forms, and he's represented with the Joker, Freddy Krueger, Jeepers Creepers. They always, soak into
just
our
like the Glimmer Man too. Am I saying that right? Glitter Man or Glimmer Man?
Glimmer Man, and then even some people have said Slender Man has that hat too. This famous tuxedo and long arms. But it's just got to be safe out there, and the awareness starts the first thing, of course. But sometimes people have walked themselves into problems and off of cliffs and into traps as well. And I feel like I've fell victim to that as well. I've been stranded out in the woods during storms that I feel like have been manipulated just to absorb me. So just keep your guards up, guys. Definitely stay safe out there.
I have found no stairwells, but I was hunting one time way off the beaten path, man, and I came across a cabin. Well, the problem was the cabin looked pretty new. I went up there and checked it out, and I couldn't figure out, why is this here? Why is this cabin just in the middle of fucking nowhere? And I mean, I was 4 hours hiked into nowhere and found a nice cabin. And I started looking around. When I got to the back side of this cabin, it's snowing, so there's a lot of snow on the ground. When I got to the back side of the cabin, I noticed a big-ass pole in the tree line. I went and looked, and it's got big, huge satellite dishes and stuff on it right next to the cabin. And then it said U.S. military something, and That's when I got the hell out of there. But yeah, I figured the cabin had something to do with that stuff. But that's the only. And finding that cabin, even though it was new, was spooky as hell, dude. It was all boarded up. I had to take the boards off to go in it, and it's a one-room cabin. Still out there though, spooky. Out there changes your perspective. All your senses are heightened, and your awareness is heightened, and and just finding stuff like that, I knew I had found something I shouldn't be seeing, type thing, and I thought it was spooky because that feeling was spooky because I came up on it, and it shouldn't be there. So my first thing is I jumped to, it might be haunted inside, but no, that spooky feeling was government stuff, and I wasn't supposed to be there. It's the same scary feeling to me though. Like I had that same feeling, like get the hell out.
You're not supposed to be here, man.
In the military, that could have been special ops, crazy experiments happen. Yeah, you definitely read that situation right by getting out of there. But that's awesome. You found that 4 hours into it. I've definitely found some cabins and frames of old homesteads, and it's just like tapping into an old world, and then you can just visualize the life that's happened there. And clearly that cabin was still active and probably, looking around there, that whole place is probably in some kind of digital grid, and they're calculating a cabin in the woods.
I've never seen a pole with satellite dishes on it out there, and I hunt that whole place. I don't know how that cabin even got there without me knowing about it.
Maybe it wasn't really there.
Mel asks, do you astral project? I've definitely astral projected in my past. I do so many psychedelics and go fasting and push myself to the limits, guys. I've really done a lot to get myself on the outside of society and kind of get myself ready for this cryptid research. So doing, LSD, mescaline, even of course, Hawaiian baby wood rose seeds. You can buy those legally online, and you turn them into a tea, and you get really sick when you drink it, but you can contact the other side. And one time, Evan Tanner, he's an MMA fighter that went missing in the desert, and then they found his body. He passed away. He was one of my favorite fighters, and it was really mysterious. One of my trips, it ranges from body buzz straight to time travel, but in one of my trips, I felt like I was watching over him, or I was with him. And it might not have been Evan himself. It might have just been another man that got lost in the desert in weird circumstances. But there was creatures and shadows, and he was very desperate in the moment. So, yes, I've definitely left my body and mind while doing meditations and seances and psychedelics. And then also I write down my dreams. So I really take in all different realms as research. I've had Bigfoot encounters in my dreams that I write about in my book, being dead serious, and because we're asleep for 1/3 of our life. We have to absorb that information and try to learn from it, or we could just be blind to it. But I think there is true magic behind it, and it's a vision into something that is kind of blurry in this realm. And that's why we forget about it when we wake up and look at our electronics. So get that pen and paper out and write in your dream journal when you wake up, guys.
I need to get me one of those too.
I've only written something down once when I woke up. And it was one of those astral projection things that just seemed even more real than usual. It was strange, man. But I woke up and drew exactly what they had me working on was a battery, and I drew that. So it is a good idea to have that next to your bed.
Mm-hmm.
Only done it once, but it was worth it.
This is an older question, but I saved it from a while back. But Michigan UFO, I believe that's just blanked on his name. What's his name, Sonny?
Rob.
Nope.
Is it you?
This is bad. I'm sorry, we're crashing. Anyway, I'll think of it in a second here. Michigan UFO sightings and paranormal encounters over here. He wants to know if Bigfoot is part of the Fae.
Some people definitely classify them part of the Fae. Some people say they work hand in hand. Some people say that they just communicate and exist with each other symbiotically. But I have heard many stories. I'm reading Gemma's book right now, and there are some races of fairies that are 10 feet tall and gray. So some of these gray beings that are reported as Sasquatch might be fairies, but then some of these tall beings that they're like, oh, that's the fairy race. No, it might be a hairy man. So yes, they definitely go hand in hand. I am definitely well aware of the little people and the Fae. When I'm out there in the forest, I always leave little exchanges for them: cannabis, little marbles, little food offerings, satsumas, which are seedless oranges, and we're in the capital of the world of satsumas. It's the only place that they can grow to their fullest potential because it has to be a certain type of hot and a certain type of cold, and it makes a special type of sweet. So I feel like these other type of things that are out there, if I can give them a little bit of our magic, then maybe they can share it with us. But of course, tread lightly. There's a lot of things that they are nefarious. They try to play with your mind. They say bring 13 cents because they can't count past 12. There's a bunch of fun stories, but it all goes back to, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and all the little Peter Pan histories that we've learned about. It's always surrounded us. Where do we put our teeth when we lose them? We put them under the pillow for the tooth fairy. It's not as weird as Darkness Falls, guys. The tooth fairy's always been in our life.
The tooth fairy?
Yeah, the tooth. All those stories had to come from somewhere.
Yeah, they had to come from something.
Yeah.
I think about that too, watching even old cartoons. It's like, I think somebody knows something. Somebody behind the paper there was knowing something.
Leprechauns, of course, the keyboard elves, Lucky Charms. Like, it's always been surrounding us. Like, just literally go to the grocery store. That's my paranormal research. But actually it is, because at the Dollar General here in town, there's a wailing woman in the back room, and that's staff. No one stays long working there, so I've been going there the last 4 years. So I stir up all the staff. I'm like, hey, did you hear about the wailing woman? And I've actually got in trouble back there because a couple of the workers let me go in the back room, and then managers are like, no, you're breaking protocol. And it's just really cool. And then I've put videos out on it and talking about how the manager is holding me back, and then people are like, they're holding something back there, maybe they're running traffic warnings and stuff. It's really crazy. But that's, again, you just have to ask questions. And the answers will blow your mind. There's another place right here. It's a beverage place. It's called JC's. Well, JC died, and before he died, he said this one family can never own it. Well, a couple marriages and a couple business deals later, that family owns it. And JC, old Joe Cool, he still is spotted to this day because he's upset that it's owned by someone else, so he's trying to wreak havoc. So literally every day, either I'm off work and I'm doing my own investigation, or I'm working and I have to drive to town and I go past the haunted convenience store. I go past the Native American seeing a 30-foot werewolf, and then many different graveyards that have green orbs and swamp gas and weird lights coming from them. So every day is paranormal with me, and I just love pushing people out of their comfort zone, and then they find out their true self, because then if we can all be better, then the rest is just easy. I don't know if it's downhill from here or uphill from here, because downhill it's actually easier. Uphill, I don't know. It's a weird expression. That's where they get us. They get us in binds with our words, and they got us under spells, and we write in cursive, man. We have to break free from it. But that starts with awareness, and how they're not even teaching handwriting anymore. I think that gets us away from where we need to be too, because when we write something down, we remember it. And when we type something, one, there is no memory, and then two, they can manipulate it. So screw Disney Plus. They're rewriting all of our favorite cartoons and putting out BS, man. Just look at the Disney logo. It's the kingdom and the dome above. You know why? Because Walt Disney was on those expeditions where they found the dome and they found the ice wall. The first Pixar movie is about the lands at the end of the earth. It's really crazy. It's right in our face most of the time. Journey to the Center of the Earth, Jungle Cruise, all these movies literally show Middle Earth. And then, of course, The Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug, Lord of the Rings. It shows that there is some kind of power underneath us. I think there's an inner sun. And there's movies like Iron Sky that talk about the Nazis on the dark side of the moon, and then in Middle Earth, and Adolf Hitler riding Tyrannosaurus Rexes. So they can, put their fun Sarah Palin twist on it, but we can still read between the lines and see it clear as day. And all that come out on Amazon and Netflix, it's all very calculated. Like, all guys look up. Don't Look Up. That new Netflix movie?
Yeah, that was a good one.
See, I watched it. It was like, okay, where's actual, where's the creativity? Because they're literally just taking the truth. Like the truth is right in front of us, but no one wants to act on it. And I don't know. I enjoyed it for existing, but man, as a filmmaker, you get me, Jonah Hill, Meryl Streep, Jennifer Lawrence, Jonah Hill, Timothy Chalamet. I'm going to make a movie. I'm going to make something you're going to remember. I'm not going to watch something you will never watch again on Netflix. So don't look up. Don't look at it.
I just looked at it like we're all saying, we all say look up. So I felt like they were pointing it out. Like, don't look up. If you tell someone not to do something, they're going to do it.
Yep. That is interesting.
The movie was a little out there, but I like
I still haven't watched it yet. Oh, wait. Prasel says, Connor, isn't it a rule that the ones in control have to tell us what they are doing? Chat keeps jumping. I forgot what the law is called.
Yeah, I don't remember the law, what the name is either, but we did reference that earlier before. The establishment literally has to put it in movies and literally provide it on a plate, and we have to eat it up for it to happen. They told us they were going to mask us and shut us down, and what did we do? You know, we fell right into it. So we have to stand tall, and we have the power of our creator, and they are fighting a losing battle. So we can't lose unless we throw in the towel. So never throw in the towel.
There you go. Good answer. Man, we are moving right along here. I didn't even realize that we're almost at 3 hours. Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, I thought it was like 25 minutes. I thought it was like 7:25. Man.
25 minutes,
my
man.
first bowl.
That's what the after show's for, you know.
Yes. The after show last night that Sonny was on, yeah, it was going late night. It was so funny because Sonny's like,
it wasn't even an after show.
We were show tomorrow, and it was like 2 a.m. for me. And then he's like, no, it's like 10:30 for me. And I'm still thinking, I'm like, well, that doesn't change the hours in between. I'm like, you still got to be up in a couple hours too, bro. And it was amazing, man. It's when you really push forward, and if eternity is nothing when you're in the moment, man. Again, like good conversation and long drives. I love a good phone call, and you just get lost in it. And I feel like a good podcast and a good conversation can do that, because us three right here, we were chosen to be here in this moment to share our energy, and we could have never created this again. You know, it's so important and so just specific. This is meant to be, and everybody here was meant to listen and add in their knowledge and ask crazy questions and hopefully do their research and then perpetuate it forward. It doesn't end right here. You know, this is fun. It's live, but as long as the power is on, this will live. And that's what's important. And even if the power's off, what the knowledge shared, that will live. So screw YouTube.
Yeah.
It's not OnlyFans.
What's that?
I said screw YouTube, and I was like, you know what, catch me on OnlyFans or Patreon. But
Yeah.
you know, YouTube is a beautiful platform, but it is constricting people every single day. I have to speak in code, and I can't even say all my personal beliefs, or I'll be shut down.
Yeah, we actually joked a couple weeks ago about streaming on Pornhub, because we would never have anything taken down. They would just be like, oh yeah, these guys are just talking about Bigfoot and aliens. We'd be at the bottom of there.
XXX, there is awesome Bigfoot erotica books that you can read. I definitely recommend buying my 4 books and then reading those. But there's tons of Bigfoot XXX going on. Maybe I'll have to write my own. And then there are Bigfoot videos too. So if that floats your boat, then heck yeah. But if you're into little fairies and nymphs, there's a bunch of stuff about that. If you're a furry, then heck yeah. If you watch My Little Pony, if you watch it for the fantasy part, heck yeah. If you're, doing any kind of arousal from that, then turn it off,
Just shut her down.
Healing. Yes.
Shut her down, bud. Go outside.
You got to get outside.
Oh, Gypsy Road. I just had this one. Oh, I didn't. Did I save it? No, I didn't save it. Gypsy Road was saying something about their last encounter. I'm going to have to go back up.
Him and his brother had an encounter up in the same mountains that Sonny is experiencing all these strange stuff in. And him and his brother, Eric was younger than Dr. Wu, and the adults described it as a bear running away, and some of the older teenagers ran after it. And of course, the Seattle Supersonics are up there, but it was a place called Poison Meadows in the Sierra Mountains. So imagine, I think the poison has some kind of to do with, the demons and all that. And all these places, the devil's in the details, guys. David Paulides will tell you that.
Yeah, that's what it was. The Poison Meadows near the Sierra Mountains. Sonny, if you're familiar with that.
Melissa asked, "Is your video up yet? If you and the she-wolf,
The she-wolf.
And it's still buffering right now, Mel. But we're really looking forward to filming a sequel and making a saga out of it. Move over Twilight, Edward Bella is Bigfoot Anon, and the Mobile Wolfwoman. And if any female paranormal investigators want to join in the journey, feel free.
I believe I know my reason. Part has been fulfilled. There we go.
Just
Oh,
living
man.
our truth and waking up every day. It's inspirational for everybody. We can provide things that we can't even imagine for people just by presence. Like the other day, my buddy Anthony Bowers popped into my live, and like I had goosebumps, and it's just so crazy. So show up for your family, guys, and check in when you can, and show up when you can, and break free from your work schedule and your habits, and I don't know, just the binds that hold us down. Just break free from it. I hear so many sorry excuses coming from my own mouth too, 100% coming from my own mouth too, that we just have to break from. And, every day is a journey for that. Real quick before, I know hopefully we got a little bit more time left, but I know it's we're probably winding down towards the end of the marathon, of course, but I just wanted to share a story from my aunt. She saw a banshee in Ireland about 80 years ago, and she was casted aside, and a lot of people in my family and a lot of people in her neighborhood, thought she was loony. So I think it's my duty and it's in my blood to share her story and to share her truth and just to be on top of that all. There's so many strange things out there, and there's so many beautiful things out there. They're being swept under the rug. That's just our duty. It's our duty as humanity and earthlings alive right now to appreciate this planet. But my cousin sent me this letter about my granddad's sister. All right. So your granddad's sister, Flynn, told us that one day when she saw one day when she was very young, around 10 years oldish, she was told to do a message, e.g., go to a shop, send a message to the neighbor, etc. And on her way home, she saw a fragile old lady with very long gray hair, white hair, brushing her hair while sitting on a stall outside a specific neighbor's house, the neighbor being Mrs. Lynch. She had never seen that woman before, and in those days, everybody seemed to know everyone around the neighborhood and village. The next morning, the news came that Mrs. Lynch had passed away, and the story is the gray-haired lady was a banshee that was symbolizing that Mrs. Lynch was soon to pass, old Irish folklore. The same woman was apparently never seen again, and our great Nan was never believed due to nobody knowing this woman in the village. But my Nan, Flynn, swore that the story was true. Each time we went back to Limerick, she would always show us the same house where she had said to see the woman sitting on the stool. And I always think that's so cool that my little innocent great Nan, little fragile Irish woman that could definitely whoop all three of our butts probably, she saw a banshee, man, and she spoke her truth before there was any of these TV shows or any glory behind it. She was just sharing what she found, man, and they cast her aside, called her crazy. It's my duty, and it's a beautiful thing to share that. While I'm on the roll, of course, my last chapter in every book is stories from family and friends. Again, Crazy Connor, on 7 hits of LSD can tell you the meaning of the universe. But if I could provide a spider web of people that kind of have been there from my experiences or in the same area and have weird encounters, it kind of solidifies and builds the foundation and hopefully a better picture for the audience. But these are my two letters from my two friends that I had my dogman encounter with. All right, Jake. This one's his encounter a couple weeks before. Pulling in the Sleepy Hollow neighborhood. Woods to the left, big field, hill to the right with a wet red barn at the top of the hill. As we're pulling in slowly, we see a figure crossing the street on 2 legs resembling a werewolf / Bigfoot, bigger than any human, and as soon as it crosses the street, it dead sprints up towards the barn, running faster than humanly possible. Still feels like a dream. And that's Jake. He's woke to this kind of stuff. So if it feels weird to him, it's weird. Then Alec. I guess my statement would be I take a left on the Sunrise Oval off of Sleepy Hollow Road. As we pull in, we stop because we think there's a deer crossing the road. When we looked, though, it wasn't a deer. It was something on 2 legs that ran across the road faster than any average person could run. It ran up the hill in almost a gallop. The second story, I believe me, were there. But we heard rustling outside my walkout basement. We look out the window, and there were eyes, like 5'5" to 6 foot, looking into the window. It's taller than any known Ohio animal could stand. So it's really cool just hearing it from those guys and from my cousin. And I have tons of other stories of family members experiencing strange lights in the sky and weird booms and sonic bangs. It's really cool to, just share the knowledge. And then I've gotten tons of other, submissions and, Gemma Jade, Cryptids Canada, Dixie Cryptid, How to Hunt. They have awesome tales and even missing person mystery that they take user submitted stories and share it, man. It's really special.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that, man. And we're gonna send anybody over that's interested over to that Amazon page and get some books ordered up.
Yes, I definitely appreciate that.
If anyone wants a signed version, is there an option for a signed version from you?
You could contact me. I got my own batch that you could PayPal me or something, but get it however you can, and then just manifest that you'll meet me one day, and I'll gladly sign it and write some crazy inscription on it. I have sold a bunch of books at conferences. I sell them at my comic book store. I was recently at the Big Florida Great Festival and Race, and we were like one of the only two Bigfoot booths in there, and we had so many people coming to share their stories. And again, we're open-minded and we're friendly people, and we smell like ganja, so it brings in everybody, including the Sasquatch, the curious folk. But I'm definitely interested in hearing other user submission stories too. So definitely reach out to me if you guys want to email me any stories. But yeah, just get it on Amazon. Beyond the Fray is going to be putting it out. All these I self-published, edited them, I illustrated, I took all the pictures. It's all me. So it's going to be a little different having them edit it and do their own artwork. It's gonna be different, but I'm all about the future and adapting and hopefully getting the message out to more and more people, because long after I'm dead, these books will still exist, and hopefully the Fahrenheit 451 fireman Guy Montag, he won't be able to find them that quick. But I definitely just want to spread the knowledge in every avenue that I can. And it starts with real life, 1,000,000%. It's all fun on YouTube and TikTok and Twitter, but I'm real life talking about Bigfoot every single day. I am not ashamed to talk about the flat earth, about Bigfoot, about ghosts existing, about my aunt seeing a banshee, about me pooping my pants in Pascagoula, about me breaking my collarbone, running from possibly a little raccoon in the woods. We're not higher or better than anything. We have to stop sitting on pedestals. We don't know anything, but we have the answers to it all. So we have to just walk that balance. And I love it because every single day is like amusement park, man. And my next book is Every Camp Has a Crystal Lake. And it talks about haunted camps, haunted schools, and theme parks that I've investigated and hung out at. And that starts at Disney, Cedar Point, and of course Kings Island, where R.L. Stine wrote a book about the beast that lurks in the woods in that area. And then there's 2 wooden roller coasters, fastest, meanest, tallest, only one that does a flip in the known world. So it's a lot of strange stuff. So I combine, fiction, fan fiction, nonfiction, surrealism, to it all, because there's roots to reality to it all. So some people can't keep up with my speed. Read the books or watch it on YouTube at 0.50 speed. I'm sure.
That's right. Slow her down a little bit if you need to.
Whoa. Yeah, you're right. And
donate
to the PayPal.
Yeah, please donate to the PayPal. Absolutely. Show support when you can. Well, we really appreciate you coming on here, man. This is not going to be the last time for sure. We're going to have you on again. I'm sure there's a lot more you can share with us. So get some stories built up, and we'll have you back on real soon here.
Definitely, man. I'm really looking forward to it. I got tons of things planned for the future with expeditions. I've signed some NDAs already, so some big things I can't even talk about on these fun platforms.
Awesome,
but
man.
Wow, man, that's cool.
Big things that are coming, and I'm super excited. Check out my books. Watch the movies. The trailers are on YouTube. The Void Cat, super proud of that one. And then Zillifoot. That one is a freaking mockery, but they're both wild and fun. But again, I wrote in my journal when I was 8 years old that I wanted to make movies, I wanted to make music, and I wanted to be a singer. So we're all lining up to it. I'm not singing on stage anymore, but I'm singing to the Bigfoot, playing my ocarina and my little flute. So hopefully, the Mobile Wolfwoman will come in and try to play the skin flute or something, or maybe bite my neck, take me to the next realm. But again, heaven exists 7-3 miles up. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. I talk a lot. I get worked up. Never used handiwork ever on words, on metaphors. Never. It is a real physical place. Handiwork up there. If you look at amateur rocket footage, it goes up for 73 miles. Boom, it catches up in the plasma, baby. You look at the record-breaking lightning strike, 75 miles. You know what lightning is? You know what thunder is? Thunder is when lightning hits that dome, it reverberates. And it's amazing that 75 miles, 73 miles, it all connects. It's crazy that we are closer to heaven than each other, but we're on the same screen sharing information. So isn't that a beautiful conundrum? I just got goosebumps. We're closer to heaven than each other, but in this moment we're still sharing like the vibes. So
right,
what a beautiful thing. Distance is nothing.
I love that, man. That's awesome.
I love that too, man. That's a good way to end it right there. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you being here.
Man. Honor, you're awesome, we'll have you back on. We'll either get you on Paranormal Chop Shop or back on here. But this is. Oh
fun, yeah, the Chop Shop would be cool, man. Friday night hangout session. That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. And as you guys know, I'm going to be on Spaced Out Radio January 5th. I'm super pumped for that. Dave Scott, definitely a legend. And he's very open-minded too. Same thing with this conversation. Like, I love when I don't have to hold back. You know, a couple of my funnest interviews are when I just could go wild, you know. But some of the funniest interviews are watching the hosts kind of like just get their mind blown. I know Gypsy Road gets a really good laugh out of it because sometimes, you know, it's researchers report. I got 60 minutes to give you facts. I'm gonna use it. But sometimes it's a conversation. Sometimes it's questions. You know, I'll ride the wave, but trust me, I got that gas in the motor. But like Spooky said, I'm Connor Flynn. You're Connor Flynn. I'm Chad Smith. You're Chad Smith. I'm Sonny. You're Sonny. This is all the Chop Shop. And I'm just so thankful for this amazing morning. I had a late night last night and a magical morning in between. Is just so that's where the magic happens, you know. And still got more plans for tonight. So today's about to be revolutionary. And Jack McClellan, he's got the $5,000 camera set up. I got the GoPro. And hopefully Donnie Miller will bring his vibes. And just really excited for the future. Keep on it, everybody in the community. I appreciate the support. Definitely, subscribe to Bigfoot Anon, my YouTube. I drop a video pretty much once a week, but it's a couple hours. It's a really nice hangout. Have an awesome community in the chat. But also check me out on TikTok. I go live on there the most often. My phone's dead right now, so we won't be able to see how many people tuned into ours. But we had two hours of it going strong. So I'm really excited. Hopefully 50,000 by the end of January, and then 100,000 will come soon. Keep the ball rolling. Everybody pop into my lives on there. Drop comments. Troll the trolls. Definitely a lot of hateful comments on my TikTok, but hey, it helps the algorithm, and I've built that strong shield around me, guys. And energy is stronger than anything we could ever put our minds to. And we're all water, so, stay positive and just thrive in this world. As above, so below. There's waters above. Mom, why is the sky blue? Well, because there's an ocean, above. So give up on all the Epstein friends, guys, who are going up in these fake rockets, and William Shatner went to space, and Michael Strahan. It's silly. It's silly. And some of my parents' friends, they were like, "Hey, did you see that billionaire? I told you Earth isn't flat." I'm like, "No, that actually proves the Earth is flat. Like, you guys are filming this in film studios, Take it from the guy on IMDb. I've been an extra in some pretty successful movies in the past. It's all a facade. It's all an illusion. Even the president talking on these speeches is pre-recorded months ago. It's probably all deep fakes. These guys are long gone. Yes, the Fresno Nightcrawlers, man. It's awesome that Gypsy Road and Sonny for Paranormal Chop Shop came from the same freaking region.
Yeah, that's cool.
Gypsy Road, hit up Sonny, have him on your show because that would be awesome. And, of course, definitely have Chad out here, too, because you guys have an awesome platform, definitely positive people. You guys got a great community. Keep it going, man.
Thanks a lot, dude.
Big things. You got the ball rolling, but once this time next year, you're going to look back and you're going to have a huge catalog of awesome information, great friends, lives changed. So keep on it, man. You're inspiring people in many different forms, and we all are. You know, just getting outside nowadays is a lot, guys. So be there, smile for people, and, you know, lead by example, guys. Shake hands. Do not be scared to hug. Like, be that bright light. When you look at us at the heat chart, orange and red, and we're as big as the room. But when we're scared and we're purple and we're blue and we're cold, that's how you get sick. That's how you don't live up to your fullest potentials, guys. So I appreciate everybody being here this morning. What a magical morning. It's not even 10:30.
Absolutely, dude.
And we've already covered so much. So everybody have a very productive day, a productive week, productive rest of the year. And I hope to see you guys on the other side. And heaven is closer than most things we strive for, guys. So it's all in reach.
Thanks a lot, dude. Appreciate you being here. Awesome.
Thank you, man. This was a great show. Melissa says she feels better just from hearing it today. It was a great show.
Well, hey, dude, we got to thank everybody before we get off here. We got to thank
We do.
everybody for being here and for buying the merch and donating to the PayPal. And you guys have just been awesome today. And we will see you again on.
Man.
Yeah, today's
Chat
Thursday,
was
so
awesome. Questions.
we'll see you at the Paranormal Chop Shop tomorrow, 9 p.m. We're just gonna do a little hangout since it's the end of the year. We're gonna do a little New Year's Eve hangout, and everybody's welcome to hang out with us there tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, over at the Paranormal Chop Shop, and then new hours next week for this channel, Chad Smith Podcast. We're gonna start at instead of starting at 8, we're gonna start at 10 Eastern. So that'll give everybody a little bit more time to come on in here. So hopefully we have a better audience. Not a better audience, but hopefully that works for everybody else that isn't on midnight shift like I am. So we'll see you guys next week and Friday on the Paranormal Chop Shop.
Yeah, tomorrow. Don't forget, guys. We're gonna party it up tomorrow, and I'm gonna drop the link to some people. So it'll be a show, not just a party. We'll have fun. And don't forget to check out UFO Garage with Joe and Ben and Big Willie over there.
Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
And John and Gemma at Spaced Out Radio now. And don't forget about the man that makes it all happen, Dave Scott. Don't forget to watch Dave Scott every night on Spaced Out Radio.
Absolutely.
And Lynn Wallington, when she fills in on the weekends, keeps that Woo train rolling. So it's an awesome show, guys. You guys make sure you tune into all those guys. Without them, we wouldn't be here.
That's right. We wouldn't.
And thank you so much again, Sandy and Kathy. You guys are awesome. You really made my day. Like that just blew my mind.
That was awesome. This is insane.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you, everybody.
Peace.